Warning, this podcast contains adult language and is not suited for children.
I swear we're going to try not to be too negative tonight. I swear. We're fresh off the Royal Rumble. I watched it live one day ago. You watched it live in your house whenever the hell you felt like it. Probably out of order. That's fine. I swear we're not going to be too negative. But we're going to be pretty negative about this one. I'm Joe. He's Drake. This is the Squared Circle Sit Down. We're here to talk about wrestling each and every week. This week, it's the Royal Rumble. Thank you again for joining us on your podcast platform of choice. I'll get that right one week. Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor. I remembered all 5 this week. And you can also check us out on YouTube, where you can like, share, comment, and please subscribe. Give us some feedback. We like your feedback. And I'm going to quickly toss things over to Drake. He's at the Lion Knight 42 over on Twitter. And you can also find us at Squared Circle Sit Down over on Twitter as well. Drake, what'd you think about the Rumble?
So, do you remember how we ended last week's episode?
I think so. I think we were like, yeah, we're excited. Let's do this.
And how there was every chance we'd come back this week, and what were we going to say?
What we're about to say right now.
Oh, man. This year's Royal Rumble happened. I'm almost out of positive things to say, but it happened. It went off. It didn't go off without a hitch. They almost burnt the place down, but it happened.
It hurts me. It hurts me so much because I'm usually so excited for this show, and even a bad Rumble is usually pretty good. It gives you something. But this is like a lethargic Royal Rumble. This is one where it was like, all right, it was long, about 4 hours long. If you watch the pre-show, like 5. Oh man, by the time we got to the men's Royal Rumble, I was asleep.
And it absolutely felt like it every minute of those 4 hours.
Yeah, there were some pieces of excitement at certain points in time. I'll give them that, and I think we'll get to that. I don't want to just like go off on all the good things and then we talk for an hour and 45 minutes on all the bad things or what we didn't like. I won't just call it bad.
So you admit we're going to go more than an hour 45 today?
Yeah, like hour 50. 5 minutes good, hour 45 bad. I'll be fair. Do you want to take things from the top? Do you want to just go in order down the match card?
Yeah, I think it's probably best we go from the top. Let's go from the top. That way we don't get all the good stuff out of the way first.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. Although, actually, for me, maybe it will. Maybe it will. So, up first, they open the night with Seth freaking Rollins versus Roman Reigns. It's funny because I actually am looking at the Wikipedia page, and he's billed as Seth freaking Rollins.
Yeah, I was going to say, today is the day I learned that that's his official name now.
Yeah, all right. Same. I liked this match. I thought it was possibly the match of the night, which is crazy to say because it didn't have a lot of competition.
I think it was match of the night. For me, it wasn't moment of the night. But, I mean, coming out of the gate, they did everything right? Like, Roman sold the whole Rollins coming out to the Shield stuff really well. Rollins definitely was connecting with the crowd. People were hyped to see it. It was cool. I appreciate that they didn't need to directly lean on like Moxley or anything like that. They were able to do this and just have it be about them, which is really cool.
Although they did mention Moxley.
Oh, sure, but that's not quite the same thing.
No, that's fair, but this is one of the few times that he's been mentioned by WWE as Moxley.
Yes.
And not a Dean Ambrose.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. That's Bobby. Who?
Okay, Bobby who? The germaphobe guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Okay. Man, that was a wild trip that I'll never forget about.
And they wonder why he left.
I don't know why he
left.
Man. Okay. Let's stay focused though. Let's not. We have to fight the urge.
Dipping into negativity. Right. I like this match because it came out the gate and it did exactly what it was going to do. They sold the story, as you said. Like, they sold the story really well. The whole thing being Seth Rollins is, in the Shield triangle, Rollins beats Reigns when they have one-on-one matches, right? That's how that works. They sold that going into it. They sold Seth is the architect of the Shield. So what does that actually mean? They never really explained it. Oh, he's the one who put it all together. He's the one who knows the other two better than they know themselves. He's the one who can beat them and take them apart if they need to, if he needs to. Okay, cool. Bet. I get that. And then he comes out with as you said, the Shield entrance, the Shield gear. He hits all of his moves aside from the Phoenix Splash, which he still goes for, and is beating the crap out of Reigns for the beginning of this match in a way that we have not seen somebody do that, I think, since Reigns has gone all tribal chief. So he's the one who's really taking it to him. And we said this before, well, you said it specifically for Brock Lesnar versus Finn Balor, also at the Royal Rumble, where it felt like going into it, okay, Finn doesn't have a chance in hell. There's no way he wins this match. But in the match itself, there's that like glimmer of there's a chance of maybe. And Seth, I think people would give him more of a shot in this match with Roman than you would have given Finn against Brock. But for me anyway, there wasn't a chance in hell of Seth winning this match. Right? Like, this is Roman going all the way through whatever WrestleMania he can wrestle through, holding this championship. And Seth is not beating him here. But they did a pretty good job, at least after that curb stomp, of maybe, maybe there's something that I don't know. Maybe they're going to swerve us. Maybe Reigns is the guy who enters the Rumble later and goes on and faces Brock, right? Maybe that's how they're going to do it. That's not how it went, obviously, but I'd give him a chance on that. And I give props to even the DQ finish of, they still kept the whole, like, Seth beats Reigns thing going if they ever want to pull that out again.
So I agree with you almost up until that moment, right? They did a really good job telling the story, and they did a really good job presenting things the way they did. And I do respect the idea of keeping that sort of what used to be a rock, paper, scissors, although it loses a lot of weight now that they don't have all the pieces to keep that going. At the same time, Rollins loses nothing really by losing here. Reigns doesn't need to get DQ'd here, really. We already have seen, and they've already planted seeds for him being a little more unsteady and being distracted and what have you. And man, it felt like more of, like something you said, more of the non-committal nature of the WWE, right? Where we know, and especially now in retrospect, we know what's coming, right? And there's only so long we can put off the inevitable at this point. Lesnar Reigns is going to happen. There's no question. So don't give us this story that already kind of felt like it was pulled out of thin air, that now has a non-ending, where the only real resolution we can get from it is what? Rollins beats him in a non-title match to get his win back with interference from Lesnar or something like that. It doesn't feel like there's any real way to go from here where anyone benefits. It felt like filler for the sake of filler. And to jump from one fandom to another for a moment, as any Naruto fan will tell you, filler is a nightmare.
Oh, well, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Unfortunately, lots of Royal Rumble title matches are very filler matches. Sure. Now they have like 2 or 3 pay-per-views between the Rumble and Mania, where they used to have just none or one, and those would usually be the filler ones. Now these become the filler ones. But personally, I'm cool with the DQ. I would have liked the DQ to come from the chair shots versus the guillotine choke being held for too long. I like the whole thing of Roman actually feels like he's so pissed off that he loses himself in this moment. And Seth is the guy that brought him there. Seth is the one guy who maybe can bring him to that point, because he just like messes with his head so much that he's like, oh, hey, you're the guy who broke up the Shield. You're the guy who chair shotted me in the back. If he had done that and Charles Robinson kind of called an audible of like, I'm going to pull you off of him. And then he gets up, snaps at Charles Robinson and it sees Seth maybe slowly stirring, crawling up, goes and gets the chair and is like, no, you did this to me. I'm doing this to you. Screw this. I don't care about winning this match right now. I'm putting you in the ground. If he had done something like that and that were the DQ rather than the DQ first and then they earn the DQ after the finish, I think that would have been a little bit better. But I think this is one of those things that this isn't one of those shows that people are going to go back and watch very often. So I'm just going to look at it on paper and say, okay, whatever, they got the finish the way they needed to get the finish. I liked everything about the match up until the finish, much better than the finish. But at this point, like, again, it's the match of the night for the body of work. And man, it's unfortunate that it is.
Yeah. I think the other problem with it that I have is that it's the first match of the night. So it coming right before the Women's Rumble. You built energy, built the crowd, and then you just burned it all off with that finish, right? Because also, it's not like he went rabid is the other problem, right? So we've definitely seen that like skewering of Roman away from the like calm, methodical, almost like Mafia Don guy, and especially with this event. But it didn't feel like he went far enough also, really. So it really, by the time it was done, the energy kind of had petered out for the crowd and it needed to be sort of rebuilt for the Women's Rumble, which, I mean, they did for a time, but I just feel like if you knew this was going to be the result, do something else first. Do Becky and Doudrop first. I mean, if we're being honest, right, that match it's a throwaway match. I understand not wanting to put it on first, but at the same time, you then at least get the benefit of being like, well, cool, we know Becky's the women's champion. Who's gonna maybe face her? Or there was just not enough on the mixed tag match first. People will lose their minds having Edge out there. Miz knows how to like build a crowd. It was a fine match with a fine finish that could have been really safe in that spot. Then do the Women's Rumble. Then you can either do Becky Doudrop to let people come off the burnout. Then you do Roman Rollins, but then you have the problem of Roman Rollins leading into Lashley Lesnar. So I think they just kind of booked themselves into a corner with the matches tonight, which also sort of comes with the territory of not doing any real long-term booking.
Yeah, this is a problem they've had for a while with like the two Rumbles on the same card because they don't want to do them back to back. So the Royal Rumble pay-per-view usually was a card that only had like 4 to 6 matches, and this one has 6, but 2 of them are an hour long each. So that's a big problem. So it generally lends itself to like, well, if you're gonna have 6 matches, you have to break up the Rumbles. Personally, I think maybe you should start the night with a Rumble and end the night with a Rumble and just do everything else in the middle. And I think that works out best. But if you're going to do one before one of the Rumbles, I don't think it should be a title match. Just exactly what you just said. I think it should have been the mixed tag and then do all the title matches in a row. And then whatever, you could just alternate, do Reigns and Seth, and then do the women's title match, and then do the other men's title match, and then the men's Rumble. I don't think that would have been a problem. But it was a point I was going to bring up anyway about the match order, and I think there are reasons why with Brock and everything later on. So I think we'll get to that.
So then the Women's Rumble happened. And so, like you said, I also have the Wikipedia page open. And it's kind of funny as I scroll through it. I'm going to take half a second and count something, if that's all right. 2,
cool.
4,
I wonder
5,
if you're counting the same thing I counted before.
8. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. 30 women.
Yep.
14 of them. Oh, well, okay. Yeah, 14, because I'm not going to count the winner. 14 of them are either not currently contracted or
Yes.
not currently active talent on
This
their
is
roster.
exactly the same thing that
Yeah.
I counted before.
And I kind of want to get this part
What
out
I
of
mean.
yeah, and I want to get this part out of the way now because there are a couple of positives that I want to talk about. It's like a what's the term? It's like a compliment sandwich where let's
Yeah.
talk about this negative thing now, then there's a couple positives, and then we're going to talk about the match overall, and that's going to be unfortunate. But you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I love rumbles that have a lot of the like surprise people. I'm usually in favor of that. I enjoy when they bring in a handful of people who you don't expect to see or who haven't been around for a while, do the like surprise return even if they don't win. I was happy seeing a very large handful of the people that I saw. That's very telling of their roster and the way that they've set up the women on their roster, especially when you look at some of the people who haven't been there. I know last week we spoke a bit about how Asuka is back, right? We saw her already, I think.
I don't know if we saw her or if I just read something that she's about
Okay.
cleared to be ready to go.
Okay, so I think it's a good idea not having her in this, but I also acknowledge that that's me looking at it as someone who still looks at her with insanely high stock, and that's not always how they see her. Alexa Bliss was another name, pretty obviously absent, but I can understand it if they're still doing these therapy vignettes and they're trying to slow burn away the Fiend gimmick or double down on it, because I'm still not really sure which way they're going with it, and they could go either way. But there were also just some names that I did not want to see, and I'm kind of disappointed were there.
That's fair because I I looked at the exact same thing you looked at because it's so telling. There were 0 people from NXT in either Rumble
Yeah, yep, which is
combined, none.
crazy.
And yet you bring back, I think there are 4 or 5 people in this match who are in the Hall of Fame. And okay, cool. You have a couple of people who technically aren't on a roster, but they're still active talent. That's like Sonya technically is like a non-roster person, but she's an active talent for the company. So that's fine. But when you look at the people in this match, every single one who is currently active on one show or another, Raw or SmackDown, every single one is a known quantity. They're somebody that's been around for years, usually. The one exception is Aaliyah. She's the one exception who has been with the company a long time, but has never really shown up for anything like this before. Like, this is her first year, like her first year of main roster tenure. So she got a hell of a showing in terms of lasting a long time. Didn't do anything, you know. Combined, her and who was it? Liv Morgan, I think, lasted an hour. Combined, both of them lasted pretty much the entire match and eliminated no one. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. Like, you usually for matches like this have somebody who's like, I'm going to eliminate 5 to 10 people, and then a second person is going to eliminate 5 to 10 people, and then a third one's going to eliminate a handful. And that's where you get the bulk of your elimination. So you build people as these forces where when they get eliminated, it's a big deal. You had somebody out there really early, Sasha Banks, who doesn't make it out of the first like 10 people. Okay, maybe she's still hurt. Maybe she couldn't go that long. Okay, but still, like, nothing.
So two things I want to bank off that with. The first one is, it's funny that you mentioned it because I was going to talk at one point about how it feels like their stock in Liv Morgan really is going up because she was in there for 37 minutes, which is wild. That's great. Good for her.
She was considered a favorite by a lot of people.
But she got 0 eliminations. You couldn't have her eliminate anybody? That's crazy to me. But as to the Sasha thing, which, as a quick aside, Sasha Banks, Sailor Moon, so cool Very awesome. Love to see it. Really kind of committed to that costume, and like, whew, that was dope. But I completely understand her being eliminated early. She's a big like crowd favorite. She is someone people can rally behind. And if they did nothing else this year in both Rumbles, they did a really good job of controlling who was in the match when the winners that they knew would be divisive showed up, so that there were only so many people they could maybe rally behind, and they cleaned it up very quickly.
Yes, that's very true. And the winners weren't these people who just came in, eliminated one person and won. They were there, they showed up, they beat up the ring, they eliminated like I think 4 and 5 people respectively. Maybe I'm wrong by that, but like if I am, I'm off by one person. That's no big deal. So they did a reasonably good job at the end of these matches, I think. But the middle portion, like if you want to divide it into the first 10, the middle 10, the last 10, the middle 10s for both of them felt so weak, because there's usually just like in this one, it was Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair, and they both came in 16 and 17. The first portion was the whole Sonya Deville and Naomi feud. Okay, fine. I felt like that was too late and should have come in earlier. Like if you swapped them with like Bianca Belair, who came in at number 8 and lasted almost an hour, and I think eliminated one person. So you swap them with like, say Sonya Deville comes in at number 8 and Bianca comes in at like 12 or 13 or something. Okay, cool. Now you have somebody to get more excited about later into the match rather than earlier. And you could have had Sasha last like another 5 minutes just to have something going on.
Which kind of brings me to another issue I had with this Rumble, where so this particular one had some really fun moments, and I want to talk about those in a minute. But before we do, I gotta get this out of the way. There was nothing happening. You're so right, especially in like the Sonya and Naomi thing, which I have some stuff to say about too. But there was so little happening at any given time that it almost felt difficult to watch, because it was just not entertaining enough. And then you'd have those moments and those spots that were kind of fun or exciting, and then they'd end and it would be right back to there's just nothing of merit going on in the ring.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm going to just really quickly, I'm going to run this down for a little bit. Sasha comes out at number 1. Awesome. Fan favorite. Realistically could be the first woman to go coast to coast and win the whole thing, right? Bet. Number 2, Melina. Surprise return. Awesome.
Very excited about her. Yeah.
Awesome. Looks like she's going to cry because she's back and finally gets to have this. And then she's out on her ass in like, 30 seconds.
Yep.
Okay. Number 3, Tamina. Nobody cares. Number 4, Kelly. Yay, she's back. Nobody cares.
Wait. Okay, hold on. Now I'm offended. 2 things.
The Tamina slander?
Well, there are 2 things. One, a lot of people cared because she single-handedly makes this match make no sense so many times.
Oh my God.
2, yeah, we're gonna get to that. And 2, no, not yay, Kelly's back. What a fucking waste. If I was a woman in this Royal Rumble, I'm offended that one of these slots went to Kelly. You have NXT women's talent who are waiting for an opportunity. You have NXT UK talent who are waiting for an opportunity. You have people on your main rosters, and you give a spot to this woman who has never once had a half-decent match in her life? No, fuck that. No, yay, Kelly. Get the fuck out of here.
Hold on to that, because we'll get back to it really soon. Don't worry. All right. Number 5, Aaliyah. Okay. Here's somebody where it's like, all right, I understand. You're trying to build her. You gave her that roll-up win over Natty, so now she has like a record book win. Okay, cool. You're doing something with her. She's not going to win. You get her in early. She gets experience. Cool. Number 6, Liv. The first person that you can really take seriously after number 1 is number 6. Okay. 7, Queen Zelina. Not going to win. Whatever. Number 8, Bianca. Okay, cool. But by this point, you're already losing like Sasha. So, all right, fine. You're down to 2 people in the ring to really care about: Liv Morgan and Bianca Belair. 9, Dana Brooke. Okay, whatever. 10, Michelle McCool. Okay, whatever.
Okay, hang on. So I hope it's okay. Every so often I'm going to interject here.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay, so Dana Brooke has had just an incredible turnaround almost entirely as a person, right?
Yes.
And as someone who doesn't watch the product from week to week anymore, there was a moment where I honestly had to go, did they Alexa Bliss Dana Brooke? Did they just straight up recast her? But so that was mind blowing. Also, fuck Zelina Vega. She's a scab, and yeah, Michelle McCool, fine, whatever, who cares? Proceed.
Okay, Michelle's the first real, like, the first legend coming in that you could take seriously probably since Melina, except for the fact that Melina didn't last, Michelle did. That's the difference. And for Dana Brooke has a following because people actually want her to succeed.
Yeah, I was a big fan of hers for a long time when I was like watching the product, because even when she wasn't like clicking, she had a good look, she had a good moveset, she could do things that not everyone could do. She was incredibly acrobatic for somebody who was as like muscular as she was. It was very impressive overall. And I always liked seeing her do well because she also just felt really earnest as a character and a person.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that she's gone through a lot personally, and she's rebounded, and she seems like happier and healthier, and the company seems to care that she's happier and healthier, which is a good thing. She's the reigning 24/7 champion, which go figure what that's going to lead to. I don't know,
but I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, exactly. So she at least is on TV and she's doing things, so that's cool. I think we made it to number 11, which is Sonya. And this is where you start doing like the angle with her and Naomi, where she's the GM authority figure. She's not going to actually enter the match because she can do that. She gets to make up the rules, blah, 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 all that crap. Okay, whatever. This happens every so often where somebody enters the Rumble but doesn't actually enter the ring right away. It's fine. 12, you get Natty, who is never going to win one of these, but she's always going to be there. Okay, fine. 13, you get Cameron. Are we going back to Natty or are we going to Cameron?
No, we're going to Cameron.
There you go.
Everything I said about Kelly, I echo here. But I can at least understand why they wanted to bring her in for what they did with her. But the last times that we saw Naomi and Cameron on television together, in the ring, backstage, whatever you want it to be, they hated each other. This was a tag team that split up on bad terms, had a rivalry, had that rivalry end, reignited it later on, and then got rid of one of them with zero closure to this story. And now, here we are, going, oh yeah, they're closer than friends. Obviously, they love each other. And also the really nice added bonus of Sonya Deville literally going, who the fuck is that? I have no idea who this person fucking is.
Please explain to me why I should be angry she exists.
Yes. And just... God damn it.
Okay, but fine. You filled the slot and you actually made it fit to a storyline. And she was in there like 10 seconds, so who cares, right?
50 seconds.
Oh no, the worst. So right after comes Naomi because the numbers are completely random. And then you pay off the whole thing of Sonya gets eliminated, Naomi gets eliminated, Cameron's already eliminated. Okay, they're all gone. That whole angle ends in like 3 people in the Rumble. Fine. None of them last to continue. Cool. 15, Carmella. No chance in hell winning this thing, but you finally get an actual team in there. So, oh, look, they can double team people. How many people do they double team and eliminate? 0.
Not to mention, so I was aware that Carmella wore a mask now. I had read about it a couple times. What nobody had told me at any point, and that I had not seen because she hasn't really been on any pay-per-views recently, is that it's a gimp mask. Didn't realize it was a gimp mask. Kind of curious about what's going on with that. In the Carmella-Reggie relationship they had at one point, not the roles I would have expected, so I'm very surprised here. Although with Corey's attitude, I guess it's not the most surprising.
Yeah, it looks like she skinned him and wears his like face as a mask. It's really bad. It's kind of, I mean, whatever. You're gonna do something crazy with a character. You're gonna do something crazy with the character.
And I'm not opposed. Like, look, I'm not opposed to masking wrestlers. I'm not opposed to masking wrestlers with like human being names and having them keep those human being names instead of having a masked name. Not everyone has to be Fuego. Not everyone has to be, globally renowned wrestler El Infinito. At least go beyond studded gimp mat. Like, it was bad. I understand, like, jokes aside, I understand that it's supposed to kind of look like an homage to Mick Foley's Mankind mask, but it doesn't. It really doesn't play well at all.
No, it's bad. And her performance, I mean, it's Carmella. You're only going to get so much out of Carmella. I don't want to sit here and trash talk Carmella, but she comes out at 15. Okay, whatever, who cares? So we've hit now, with the exception of Naomi, we haven't had somebody pop the crowd really since maybe Michelle McCool, if you want to count her. And if not before that, Bianca Belair at number 8. So we hit 15. That's a problem. 16 brings it back with Rhea Ripley. Okay, so you have your first legitimate contender coming in at 16 again. Last one, number 8. Bet. All right. 17, Charlotte Flair. Okay, here you go. It's starting to pick up again. 18, got to bring it back down a little bit. We go to Ivory, returning with the right to censor gimmick, which is awesome. And I said bring it back down in terms of contenders, not in terms of like actual popping the crowd, because this was awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is maybe one of the best spots in this match. Getting on the apron, getting in the ring, talking about how terrible these women are because they should be at home making sandwiches, and promptly getting eliminated by Rhea Ripley without dropping the mic or stopping the promo one time.
Awesome. So awesome. And she gets eliminated by like the antithesis of what she is in Rhea Ripley, who is just like this nightmare demon woman, eliminating this like super stuck up right to censor woman. And it was great. It is great. It kind of keeps rolling a little bit here with the return of Brie Bella, who, I say what you want about the Bella twins, they're over with the crowd. I'll take Brie Bella. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty open not fan of the Bellas, but at the same time, for the lack of experience, understanding, and talent that they show in the ring, it's true. But even with all of that out there, they did play a big role in getting women where they are today, if in no other way than being incredibly vocal and boosting other voices using the platforms that they had that other women didn't. So, I will never be upset seeing them have a spot in something like this. They deserve it. They've earned it. Yes, completely definitely. Separated from any talent or understanding of the business.
Of all the people to make a return in the Royal Rumble match, these two I would give a spot every single year, because they can do the exact same thing every single year over and over again, and it will work. Yeah. And it's fine. And neither of them have to win. They can eliminate a couple of people between them, and it's fine. That's totally fine. It serves a purpose. Number 20 is a big deal.
Oh, man, yeah. Whew.
Because we get Mickie James.
And it's actually kind of funny when you think about it. So we didn't talk about this at the beginning, but Mickie is not the only person currently active in another company that has weekly shows that's in this Rumble. Melina is part of NWA, and she was number 2, which I think is really cool. Now, granted, this is probably not going anywhere. I don't think we're going to see a big Forbidden Door thing like we kind of sort of did with AEW. But it's still cool to see, if for no other reason than, they had slots they had to fill and saw an opportunity for good PR. The other thing I'll say is I was really curious coming into this whether she would use the terrible WWE Mickie James theme or Hardcore Country, and I was very appreciative of the choice they made.
Yes, and they acknowledged it on commentary, which was good.
And she had the belt.
Yes, they acknowledged the championship. They put it on her like nameplate, lower third of Impact Women's Champion. That's an awesome moment. It's a huge moment. This is something that we got kind of back in the 90s with like some crossovers with Japan and Mexico and stuff, where you'd have somebody coming in and they would acknowledge, hey, they're from another country, they're from another company, they're not going to stick around here, but like, hey, they could win the Royal Rumble.
It's not like back when certain people debuted or returned when they had to be like, yeah, they were gone for a while, or overseas back when they were for some reason allergic of the words New Japan Pro Wrestling.
We've never heard of the country of Japan. Never heard of it. We'll induct Inoki into the Hall of Fame, but we will not tell you that he's from Japan.
No, good. He's from a place across the sea.
He seems pretty Asian. Where's Asia? We don't know.
And then after Mickie James, we have another one that I was actually pretty excited for. His number 21 was Alicia Fox. Alicia Fox. Yes, yes. Man, with the way that she exited the company and the way that she kind of walked away from the business after she did, it was really unfortunate. I'm a pretty big fan of hers. One of the most beautiful Northern Light suplex bridges in the business. And she, for all the talk about her, when she was able to perform, she was usually a very good hand, and I don't mean that in a bad way. She was really good at helping other people get over. She was great at the comedic spots. She was a great crazy pants. It worked, and it was awesome seeing her again, and she looked like she was doing well, which is nice.
Yeah, all of that is great. You usually in the 20s have a couple of cooldown spots, and I don't want to necessarily just say Alicia Fox is a cooldown spot, but you usually have 3 or 4, maybe fewer entrances where you know they're not going to win. They don't really pop the crowd that big. They don't contribute a ton to the match, but you need fodder for people who are going to come out late, like the really big guns, to come in and just start chucking people.
I don't think Major Guns was in this match.
Haha. But we do have some Major Guns coming. Not yet, though, because next was Nikki Bella. So, no, actually, I skipped. Wrong Nikki. Nikki ASH was almost a superhero, except she's a supervillain.
You mean almost a supervillain, yeah.
Yes. ASV.
This was... Yeah, I don't know. But this was also the day that I learned Nikki ASH has become a supervillain.
Yes.
And in the course of 1, 2, 3, 4... In the course of 5 people who would come out next. That's how long it took me to go from, well, this is stupid. They didn't even change her like look or her name or anything to being completely sold on it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because she's been doing the thing where she's like, no, I'm the hero. I'm doing it right. And sometimes heroes have to do things that people don't like.
Wrestling has more than one royal family.
Well, yeah. And so she's doing that. She's doing it really well. She turned on Rhea Ripley after the team split up because Nikki was like, okay, don't worry, we're just gonna go get our tag team championships back. And Rhea's like, yeah, but like I could just go become #1 contender again. Like I was doing fine before you, I'll do fine after you. And Nikki's like, no, I don't like that. And she's like, why are you booing me? I'm a superhero. Well, almost a superhero. And superheroes can do things like that because they have to do what's right. And I get to define what's right because I'm the superhero. So yeah, I think there's a lot of room for her to work with that character, and that's pretty cool.
But she really does need a new outfit. It's so bad.
Oh, eventually I hope so. When she embraces it and goes full villain, that's when I hope she like completely redefines the look again.
Or it has to at least start like degrading, right? She needs to start having like parts of the suit get dirty or like torn and ripped as we see her just as we see her just sort of start going insane again, which will always be her like best place to be. She's so good at that.
Yep. Number 23, Summer Rae. Repeat so much of what you said earlier.
And the internet rejoiced.
Oh man.
They did.
Okay.
Look, there's been a big push for her to be back, though.
Really?
Yeah, there was not so much this year, but in the last few years, there has been a small but very vocal contingent on like Twitter that have been clamoring for Summer Rae to come back. With that said, yeah, wash, rinse, and repeat the other stuff that I've said.
Exactly. Number 24, you complete the Bellas with Nikki. Okay, this is when Bellas start ganging up on people. They get a couple of eliminations. All right, fine. That's their role.
Then number 25 is why we're going to get a couple of extra COVID results next week.
Yay. Sarah Logan, she gets to show up for 5 seconds, I think headbutt somebody, and then gets eliminated. Okay.
We also had her make Liv cry.
Yeah, because you get look, it's 2/3 of the Riot Squad. We're not going to call them the Riot Squad right now because that would allude to somebody else who's in a different company who maybe we extended the invite to, but she's definitely not here.
I think you're fooling yourself if you think they extended the invite. They're not.
They may not pay attention to where people actually are now.
Okay, fair enough.
So we get to 26. And this is where I think the rest of the match is actually pretty great. Okay, great might be an overstatement, but definitely good. And 26 is the return of Lita. And I said last week where 26 is the highest number that has never produced a winner. And Lita had been feuding with Charlotte. So there's always the chance of you getting Lita versus Charlotte. And if you're going to do a throwback person to win the Rumble, Lita's not a bad choice. I think you could advocate for her or Trish maybe as being like the top picks of like, oh yeah, cement it, one of these two. They didn't have a chance to do it back in the day. Give it to them now. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
She comes out. She looks good in the ring. I'm going to strictly talk about in the ring. She's in shape otherwise. Like, nothing against Lita, but she looks
good.
This
is just such a weird distinction. I'm sorry. That's a really weird distinction.
You've seen enough guys, I'll specify guys, return over the years, especially in the Rumble for a surprise. And it's like, ooh, man, they do not look like they're in shape. They do not look like they can go. They do not look like they're taking care of themselves. Oh, man, please check on them. Lita, none of those things apply.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So she looked good in the ring. Like, she looks like she can still go. She looks maybe like a half step behind some of the people that are currently active, but of course she's not having regular wrestling matches, so fine. No worries. She's out there. She's the one who eliminates Mickie James, which, fine. I think that's okay because you don't want to put heat on someone currently, although why not just have a heel do it? I don't know if this is a callback to her retirement match where she lost to Mickie, but like that's so up in the air. I don't know.
I mean, it's fine. I don't think there was any reason to have anyone specifically eliminate her because she's, we know she's not here for more than a night. We know we're not going anywhere with it. I don't think anyone who was in the match at that point really gets anything out of eliminating her. So, like, whatever. I think it's fine for it to just exist as a spot where it's like, okay, this is safe. We don't potentially destroy whatever tiny bits of goodwill we created having her here by putting one of our talent over her. It's, this Hall of Famer who is renowned as one of the best women of all time and, fine.
Who was actually like a peer of Mickie James at one point. So, yeah, that's a pretty good point. 27, we get Mighty Molly Holly.
And this is where I go from Jesus Christ, they're still doing Nikki Ash to, yeah.
It's great. Absolutely great. The attacking her before she even gets in, ripping her cape off. It's awesome stuff. That's exactly what the character needs to be.
Yeah, I popped a little bit for her coming out too, which made it perfect. I'm like, oh shit, it's Mighty Molly. That's really funny. I haven't seen this in forever. This is great. And then she just gets completely blindsided.
Yeah, Nikki Ash is like, I'll show you hardcore country. And then you might as well just cap this Rumble at 28, right? Because number 28, you get the return of your winner, Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, this happened. Team UFC bringing home a win. Gotta get that forbidden door open somewhere.
Reports came out like the day of the Rumble or maybe the day before the Rumble, of her coming back, her signing a new deal, her probably coming back to SmackDown, maybe next week, something like that. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Oh
So,
no.
yeah. So Ronda returns. I said to somebody else, I was like, all right, going into this, if she's there, she's probably in the Rumble. If she's in the Rumble, she wins the Rumble. I don't think there's anything else you could say about that. Because why not? She has built in stories with both Charlotte and Becky, who are the current champions. She is Ronda Rousey. She has not been seen in WWE since she lost in the main event of WrestleMania 2 years ago. Well, 2.5 years ago now, right? 2019, 2019. Man, it's 2022. Okay.
Well, we
So
lost the whole year. It's okay.
exactly. I'm just going to skip ahead briefly. Number 29 is Shotzi. Okay, fine, no chance, but you have to put somebody there. And number 30, worth a mention, Shayna Baszler. Shayna coming out with Ronda in the ring gets acknowledged of, hey, look, peer of Ronda Rousey. Okay, there's something that might happen here. Nothing happens, which kind of sucks.
I don't know. They had a nice little moment.
Yeah, but
They had
they don't double team anybody, and they don't touch each other really. Like they don't have any contact.
they have the square up. Like they're teasing it, and if Ronda's gonna be on SmackDown, Shayna's on SmackDown. We have time. We can get back to it, especially if well, if we acknowledge the fact that that means we're going to have the Battle of the Egos at WrestleMania, which is an interesting decision. We'll talk more about this in a second when we get to the end of the match and the ramifications of the winner of the Royal Rumble. But
And the next match.
oh yeah, but I think that this definitely is fine. They teased it, and that's all we really needed.
Yeah, I just hope it's not one of those things where they tease it and never go back to it.
Sure, yeah. Well, plans change.
Yeah. So I think the last at least like 5 people in this Rumble, maybe, well, drop out Sarah Logan and add Nikki Bella, and that's like 6. But the last chunk of this Rumble, I think, was pretty strong. And as you said before, you used the word fun. I had fun with this match at various points. I questioned the eliminations. I really don't understand because they didn't build many people at all to seem threatening. So many people seemed on par with one another and just below people like Ronda and Charlotte, which I understand. Ronda's Ronda and Charlotte is your champion. I get that. That's fine. But it seemed like those two are like the top tier people. There's a tier below, which is everybody currently employed in WWE, and a tier below that, which is everybody not currently employed in WWE, which doesn't make for a very interesting match because, as you said, there were chunks in this match, which I'll come back to this point later. There were a couple of points in this match where it just felt like nothing was going on.
I will say also that one thing that I do have to give Ronda props for was, she's been away for a while. She's 4 months out from having had a kid. So there was definitely some noticeable rust on her. But for someone coming 4 months off of having a kid and not being in the ring for 2.5 years, she did pretty good for herself. And I think, well, we definitely have to wait to see her first match to see where that lands. I'm excited for it. I enjoyed Ronda Rousey. I think there is a valid concern with having Ronda on one show and potentially having Lesnar on another, or even if you put them both on the same show, of, you lose a lot of the mystique of who's going to win what, when, how, where, why, and get stuck with some of the same faces on TV for a long time. But she's entertaining. I've always really enjoyed her time with the WWE, and if you can sign Ronda Rousey, you do, right? And then you do push her.
Yeah, of course. I think you have to. And as I said before, she has built-in feuds with a couple of people. And then there's a decent number of people she's never been in the ring before with. I think that's fine. We also don't know the details, I don't think, of how long she's coming back. Is she back through Mania? Is she back for a year and a half or what?
So what I've heard, and I haven't heard any real confirmation. This is speculation from I think Pro Wrestling. I forget. I can't even source it because I don't remember. But I know it's one of the places that I've seen that has been right more often than wrong. Is they have her for 2 years, and the plan is to have her semi-regularly on TV, and they want to do her and Charlotte this year, and then they want to do her and Becky next year. If we make it to her and Becky next year, who knows? Plans change. So, whatever. But, man, it's her and Charlotte is a choice. We'll get there. I keep for very obvious reasons. I feel like I keep falling back to that. But yeah,
well, no, okay, because it's how this match ends, right? It ends with her and Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
So Ronda dumps Charlotte. Ronda wins the Rumble. Okay, you have another interesting little stat of number 28 is now tied for the luckiest number because 2 women and 1 guy twice have won from number 28, which ties number 27. We'll get back to that point again later.
Yep. And then you also so if we're going to talk about the ramifications of this and what it means, you only a couple of months ago had an issue with one of these talents having an outburst on TV. The last time you had, I'm sorry, we have to mention it. That was fair. And you know what? It's kind of cool. This is a callback because that was our first episode. Our first episode was talking about that. You picked that up right now. Yeah.
Yes.
But
terrible segment.
A terrible segment. So you have a talent who we know just kind of went into business for themselves. We know she's got an ego. We know there have been issues backstage to the point where other talent were glad Becky stood up to her because it's been a problem. And then you have Ronda, who is well documented to have a very, very large, oversized view of herself and very loudly expresses her expectations and spent a lot of time trying to, get heat online by doing the wrestling's fake thing. And you're kind of setting yourself up for failure here, right? Not to mention, you now have the Ronda Rousey that people are kind of split on and have been for a while, and Charlotte Flair, who people don't want to see in the main event right now. And if we're just looking at it from a statistics point of view, Ronda's almost due for the crowd to turn on her, right? Like, wrestling fans are really fickle, and there's only so long anyone can stay in their good graces being treated the way Ronda is treated in the company. And between that and what happens later in the night, that without saying anything kind of creates a dividing line. It's bound to happen in the not too distant future. I don't know how this goes in a good way.
You're saying like they haven't turned on her already. I think there's a decent number of people the second she shows up are like, ugh, I don't want Ronda Rousey in my wrestling.
Sure, that's fair. The Ronda Rousey mega push is how I've seen it said online.
As you said, like if you sign Ronda Rousey, you push her. Like you're not gonna have her in the mid card just like feuding with random person. You're not gonna team her up with Shayna Baszler and be like, oh, let's go be tag team champions. You're up there being like, no, Ronda Rousey is going to be the main event. I would love to see that.
I would watch the fuck out of that. That would get, if they could consistently be like, all right, Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, tag team champions, they're going to be on TV every week. I'm watching that show.
Yeah. I mean, hell, just give them a title defense at every pay-per-view.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. Let's go. I'm so down for that. And the rest of the division is just like clamoring for who can I partner with to find somebody to beat them.
And it's a great story to tell. But
I think that'd be great.
We're not fantasy booking here.
Exactly. That's not happening. That's the thing. So like, yeah, I think there are people who are totally have turned on her already. I think that's still the minority, but I think that will become the majority very quickly because it's going to turn into, all right, it's Ronda. Ronda beats everybody. LOL, Ronda wins. And also, the match everybody wants isn't Ronda versus Charlotte. It's Ronda versus Becky. And if you're telling them, yeah, you'll get that match in a year, maybe. Why? We waited 2.5 years for her to come back. We had to wait a year for Becky to come back. And I understand, like, you have a child, of course. Like, that's your life, your prerogative. Congratulations. Do what you want to do in life. Certainly, they've earned enough money to do so. But as a fan, you're looking at it and saying, like, hey, the one-on-one match between Ronda and Becky, we were supposed to get that at Survivor Series. It didn't happen because of a potato to the face from Nia Jax. Then it doesn't happen at WrestleMania because they're like, oh, let's just throw Charlotte in there too. And so now it's 2.5 years later and you're saying, oh, wait, one more to maybe get that one-on-one match.
So that instead we can give you a match with somebody that you've been very vocal about not wanting to see continue to push in the main event all the time, and that we know has been causing problems.
Exactly. And it's crazy to think about, where it's like, take the three of them, where you have Ronda, Becky, and Charlotte, and the one who is least egomaniacal of the three is the one whose gimmick right now is about her being kind of an egomaniac, and that's Becky. And the other two are problematic for their own reasons. Art imitating life, life imitating art, yada yada, something. It's gonna main event WrestleMania, isn't it?
Well, night one, yeah. Regardless, all right, it happened. Ronda won. We've talked about some of the fun spots in this match. There probably could have been a lot more they didn't do, but fine. Okay, so then moving on to the next match is Becky versus Doudrop. God, I hate that name. Becky versus Doudrop for the women's championship, the Raw Women's Championship.
Yes.
It was a match.
The SmackDown Women's Champion was in the Rumble.
Yes. It was a match. It happened. It had the ending everyone thought it would have.
Yeah, it was fine. It's a fine match. They both worked really hard. They got 13-ish minutes, something
on
like
the
that.
On the dot, 13 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, all the non-Rumble matches had comparable amounts of time.
Second longest match of the non-Rumble match of the night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of them went particularly short, and none of them went particularly long, which is exactly what you expect to have on a card like this. Yeah. It's a fine match. They're both great in the ring. They're two of the best in the ring in the company. Becky whips out some offense that you wouldn't normally see from her because she has to, because her opponent is just ragdolling her at times. She whips out a Molly go round of all things, which is pretty awesome, and wins with an avalanche manhandle slam.
Right, yes, that's what they're calling it. Yep.
Yeah, I had to think about that for a second to remember. Okay, she slays the monster that she couldn't just beat, even though she's the one who got
set it up.
The match. It's weird.
Well,
fine.
So it was Doudrop, Liv Morgan, and Bianca Belair, right?
Yes.
And we know that she's doing kind of the heel ducking Bianca thing, right?
Yeah, and then also kind of Liv.
Right. Well, with Liv, yes, she's ducking her, but she's doing it under the guise of being like, yeah, I'm done with you. Well, I don't want to deal with you again, right? So it became one of these two or, that one. So I guess we'll take the other one.
Yeah. Into the unknown. But she wins. Fine. This was, as we said before about like the filler Rumble title match. This was a filler Rumble title match. Even if you put this match on before the Women's Rumble, I don't think it changes anything. I think everybody still looks at it as a foregone conclusion that Becky wins. The only thing would have been maybe Doudrop's in the Rumble, but that's it. Okay, whatever.
You know what, though? I wouldn't fault anyone for saying that they burned the house down.
Yeah, well, Becky has said that since.
Oh, has she? I missed that. That's great.
Yeah, she put it up on one of her stories, something like that. Just like, it's brought so much fire. Like I said, no, I'm so hot I set the house on fire, or something like that.
Yeah, that was insane. For those not in the know, they set the WrestleMania sign on fire and couldn't put it out for quite a while and had to evacuate an entire section of seating during that match because it was just on fire, which is also why they didn't show it at all later in the night, when we did the pointing at the WrestleMania sign, and we didn't end the night with like Brock pointing at the WrestleMania sign with it in the background, which I'm sure we'll get plenty of in the months to come. But because it had been burned.
Well, we got it from Ronda. I forgot to mention that Ronda did her hilarious, very sideways
Yeah.
point where she can't just point directly at it. She has to turn her entire body so you see her profile while she points.
Well, because she wants to make sure it gets a good picture. Obviously, duh. Haven't you ever worked TV, Joe?
We go cry in the corner now. Okay. If it doesn't need to be said, Ronda Rousey is way more of a professional than I am. Slightly more experienced, that one.
Slightly more experienced. Still makes it so stiff. So stiff.
All right, so we got match 4, which is Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Okay. I like this match too.
So real quick, I'm just gonna throw this out there. When I go online and I go on like Reddit or Twitter or Facebook or any of these places where people talk about wrestling, the amount of negativity around this match, I both completely understand it and it blows my mind. So I understand it because imagine if you are a weekly watcher of this programming and are committed and invested in these characters and these storylines, right? Here we are with the precursor, clearly, to Roman Lesnar 8000. This story that we're doing again, that we've been doing off and on for the last 5 years now, that is just not what anyone wants. It's so frustrating because no matter what, we keep ending up back here at Lesnar Reigns. And it's not just them now. It's starting to infect other stories and other people's careers. And so, from that perspective, I totally get it. I found out recently that Lesnar was the favorite in Vegas for like a week now, and that a lot of people expected this to happen. Me, as a guy who doesn't watch the programming and kind of pretends they don't exist except it, like when I do weekly clips and whatever, was thrilled with how this went from beginning to end. I love that I learned something new, that Bobby Lashley doesn't know how to take a German suplex, which is really fucking weird. But this man, so it came out looking better for it, in my opinion, because anytime that like a suplex comes out looking kind of grungy, I feel like it looks way better than when they take the full back bump. But either because he doesn't know how, or maybe he's worried he's too wide and he'll like elbow Lesnar in the face. And we all remember what happened the last time somebody hit Lesnar for real. But he keeps like throwing himself onto his shoulder instead of taking it on the back. And it keeps happening. The first time, all right, maybe he wasn't ready. And then again, and then again. And Lesnar, when Lesnar does the three suplexes, he German suplexes him, and Lashley does it again. So he lands on his shoulder, but Lesnar's still holding on. So now Lashley's at this weird, like, breakdancing angle, and Lesnar has to break his grip to get back around him to then grab him again to go for the second one. And it's fantastic. But with that to the side, this match was kind of what we talked about wanting to see last week. It was very entertaining. I'm so glad that the title's back on Lashley and that he can come out and be like, I did it. I beat Brock Lesnar. I told you he was ducking me. He was ducking me. We beat his ass. We can do it. The only thing I am disappointed about is we got almost no ringside action from Paul Heyman and MVP. That is like money to be made, and it's so unfortunate that there was not one time where they got in each other's faces, one time where they got loud. But halfway through the match, the ref gets knocked out. Well, near the end, actually. Ref gets knocked out. And I go to my partner, I go, why isn't Paul Heyman, like, shaking him or kicking at him or trying to wake him up? Brock has the pin. This is literally his job, and he's done it 1,000 times before. Well.
Yeah, so I agree with pretty much everything. I'm not on the side of, oh, screw this. I know where we end up. I know we're getting back to Brock and Roman. I know all that, but this is the best Roman's ever been. Roman's the clear heel now. Brock is the actual babyface now, which is strange. This is so much about Paul Heyman versus the two guys, and that's why I like it, because he's such a central piece of this story. And as you just said, like the Lashley champion again, the match between them was the solid, hard hitting, both of them throwing each other around, hitting each other really hard, power moves, all of that stuff. You know, no selling things, popping back up from suplexes and spears and all that. That's what you want from these two. What I've wanted for, and they've mostly given me for over a year now, is make Bobby Lashley this monster, because he's on that level. He can do this. You have a guy that you can book almost like you book Brock Lesnar, but you just don't. And now they finally kind of are. And yeah, I agree also with the MVP stuff. MVP did nothing in this match. Absolutely nothing. And that was strange. I get the Heyman stuff. I get it. Like, Heyman rarely gets involved in Brock Lesnar matches besides like just, you know, being loud.
Well, sure, but I'm not talking about like them getting involved in the match. I meant more with each other, right? Because you've got these two guys who,
the person to do that.
Yeah, just goad him, right? Or do something where they get into that, you know, even just like Heyman doing the squawking that he does, and MVP being like, "Man, shut the fuck up."
Exactly, something like that. Yeah, I wanted more out of MVP. I wanted more out of both of them in this entire promo leading up to the match, where I wanted more of that. These are the representatives for these title fight wrestlers, athletes. Why aren't they out there selling this more? And maybe getting in each other's faces more, something like that. We didn't get as much of that. Again, you know, the coming off of day one, you have less than a month to build this match. It's something that I think with more time, more investment, a longer feud, something like that would have been better. But that's besides the point now. I'm very glad Bobby Lashley's champion again. He definitely deserves it. I'm a little concerned this is just going to be he's champion till Mania and then they pass it off to the next person, but I don't know who that is yet. I hope not.
Well, the problem that I have is, and I was going to bring this up in a minute. So Bobby's champion again, and yeah, I'm so happy. I love what he's become, and I love what they've leaned into with him. It's great. So the guy who I would really like to see him face just decided, I guess of his own accord, even though I didn't know that was something they could do, that he's a SmackDown guy again now. Big E.
Oh yeah, he got traded to SmackDown.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes.
For who?
The New Day is back together.
For who?
I don't know. I don't pay that much attention. Bobby who? That's who.
My God. So frustrating, because that's the match, right? And even if Bobby beats him, even if Big E, like, I have to assume at this point it's going to be the Khashoggi Chamber. But whatever the setup is, how easy is it to get the crowd to explode having Big E win the preliminary matches to make his way into the Khashoggi Chamber, win the Khashoggi Chamber, and then go to WrestleMania and just lose to Bobby Lashley? Have the big meaty men slap and meat match, have them beat the hell out of each other, have them do whatever they're gonna do, and then just have Lashley spear him and be done. And then do your trade or wait for the draft or whatever you want to do. And then you've got something that's already a built-in story, needs another chapter, because I don't know that we ever got like a clean match between the two of them in a place where it felt relevant.
Nope. Never.
Right. So it's right there. It's everything you need to close the book on that chapter and move on. And now we're just not.
Yeah, because when it happened, it was the cash in. And then immediately after that, if I'm remembering correctly, we got Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg. And then Big E went off. And we had Big E versus Drew McIntyre. They had a clean match. That was good. But we never got the full rematch. And it seemed like that was going to be day one. And then it wasn't. And then it just, you know, Brock happened because Roman was out. So, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where we go from here. I mean, Lashley's still a heel, right? So I don't know what faces we have to establish on Raw to face him.
There are a couple that I would just throw out there briefly that I think could be guys to face him, but I don't know if they're the guys to beat him.
Shoot.
And one was AJ Styles. He's a
Ooh.
babyface on Raw. I think there's enough that you can do in that matchup. There's some interesting like history with those two, both outside of WWE. That's pretty cool.
We can call it Impact now. We can say that. They've acknowledged it.
That's true. There is at least a women's division
Yeah.
in a company called Impact in another company. Yeah, it's possible. But the other is Edge. And I think that's a match that could happen, but I don't know if it will. And I mean, for both of them, I still throw out the thing of even if they face him, I don't know if they beat him.
I don't think they beat him, but that's okay. I mean, you have the built-in like story for Edge and Lashley of the Hurt Lock, right?
Yep,
that's a really good one to tell. I'd watch
both have
that
a
story.
Spear. You love, well, not you love, but like they love doing the spear versus spear matches all the time.
I do not. I'm not opposed to doing same finisher matches. I'm very opposed to doing the spear versus spear. Batista and Goldberg are a good example of why.
That's fair.
Yeah. But yeah, that definitely is a match I'd be down. I'd be invested in. Yeah.
I'd be very surprised if those two names, unless they take time off or get traded or get locked in a feud with somebody else
in the chamber,
if they're not in that, or if they're not like in some storyline leading up to Mania. Yeah. It's not where I want them to go, but I think that's one of them is where it is. Like there's a match I very specifically want for AJ Styles at WrestleMania, which is I want him versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the Intercontinental title at Mania. I just like butchered saying all of that, but like him versus Shinsuke for the IC title at Mania, there. I said it properly this time. Booyah. That's the match that I would love to see.
That would be great. It always tickles me that Shinsuke is Intercontinental Champion here for, the historic reasons. Nakamura Styles, always has the potential to be a moneymaker. Hasn't really been up until now. I'd love to see them have another WrestleMania match. So Styles turned on Omos, right? Styles is the heel in that.
No, Styles is the babyface.
Oh, okay. So they're both faces, which makes it harder because having the face come across a brand to face the other face for a title is a weird dynamic in the WWE, and they're both pretty new to the face turns.
Yes, I don't think you turn them. That's the thing. I think it would be more of a respect match of like, hey, here's a thing that just hasn't happened. And I don't think AJ's ever been IC champion, if I remember correctly.
No, I don't believe so.
So you could always just play on the thing of like, hey, look, I've done pretty much everything I want to do in WWE. That's a title I've never won. You're a guy that knows what it's like to be a IC champion. Like, let me come in and try to beat you. And Shinsuke could just say, all right, cool, bring it on. And somewhere in this, eventually, like you have to split Shinsuke and Rick Boogs because they obviously care a lot about Rick Boogs. So he's going to split. Maybe he's the guy that turns heel and everything. I don't know.
Oh, I hope not. I'm not ready for them to be done.
I'm not either, but every time I feel that way, WWE is like, but we are. Yeah. So
except for the Street Profits who have been wanting to break up for the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, we're going to get to them shortly, but...
Yeah, I think that would be a great match. I think, unfortunately, it's far more likely we see Nakamura and Boogs versus Happy Corbin and Buff Markiplier at WrestleMania.
Yeah. So one more thing for the Brock versus Lashley match.
Oh yeah,
we get the run in with Roman. Roman costs Brock. Lashley wins. Heyman turns on Brock. And I mentioned this to you before. It's unclear because they haven't laid this out yet. But I think we're going to get it. This is either going to be this whole thing was a setup. Heyman going back with Brock was a setup. As soon as the two of them got close to each other again, it was we cost him the title because he came back and he tried to interfere with the whole the bloodline, right? Cool. Brock is going to go away. I would have beaten him at day one anyway. Now he can come and chase me and I'll just beat him properly anyway. All right, cool. The other way is Heyman actually did go back with Brock. Roman comes out and says, "Hey, Paul, I'm giving you a chance right now. Come back to the winning side." Heyman says, "Okay," because he's been with Roman for the past, 400 and some odd days, 500 days now, however long his title reign is. And he's part of that group now. So getting back in that fold means more to him than being with Brock.
Yeah,
Brock is the past, Roman's the future.
Yeah, and you did. You brought that up with me earlier today. And at the time, I remember I was like, well, they could go either way. Either way is a valid story to tell. And I still feel like that's true. But the more that I've been thinking about it since I watched it and since we discussed it, it feels like it's going to probably be the latter. If you look at the last couple of weeks, because it's probably the one part of WWE programming I've been trying to follow pretty closely. If you look at the last couple of weeks with Paul and Brock and Paul and Roman and the way that it's been going, he's been so carefully non-committal about certain things. Like you had the whole thing where Brock after Brock shows up and Paul's back with Brock and Brock starts shit talking Roman, where Paul Heyman's like, "Don't talk to him like that. Don't do that." And if we're looking at Mastermind Paul Heyman and this whole thing was a setup, there's no reason for that. All that does is make Brock question the allegiances, which is not what we want. We want to set up this situation where Brock is confident and in control, so then we can fuck him. This doesn't feel like that, right? This feels like we know that the relationship with Brock and Paul is that they are at least to a point friendly, right? Paul is his advocate. Paul doesn't make his business decisions. Paul doesn't make his match decisions. Paul is here because they are close and he is able to discuss to the people what Brock is maybe not so great at saying. That's why I'm here. I'm here because I'm a better trumpet player than him. And because we're friends, I'm going to help him out. But with Roman, it's this incredibly different dynamic, which they've talked about before on air, where it's, with Brock Lesnar, I'm the advocate. Here, I'm counsel. He makes his decisions. I offer my advice. And whatever decision he makes, I will support. We're family. I've been close with his family forever, and this and that. So yeah, I think it very much was one of these things where it's like, look, even when you turned on me, you didn't really turn on me. You did what you thought was the best decision, and I understand that I only left you so much choice. Here's the opportunity. Give me the belt, and let's go home. And that's what happened. And I think that's where it's going to go. Now, again, with the WWE being what it is and the way that they tell their stories, it could still go either way. But I'm inclined to say it's going to be that one.
I think it all depends on how much input Heyman has in it. And which I assume is a lot, considering it's his role. He's done this for such a long time. He works with both of these guys so well.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anybody has more sway in the company right now than Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. So if he's the one who's talking to them to make the creative decisions and they come into a meeting and, if Brock comes into a meeting and says, "Nah, I ain't doing that," he ain't doing that. It's not happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Either way, no matter what happens, I think that the upcoming Roman Lesnar match will probably be the most compelling that these matches have ever been. So there's at least that upside to it, where at the end of the day, when all is said and done and whoever comes out on top, this is one that we can probably invest in a little bit more emotionally than Roman is trying to be the hero and save us from Brock Lesnar, even though we don't really want Roman to be the hero, and so badly so that we're not willing to accept him being the end of this miserable hellscape that has been the last year and a half title reign of Brock Lesnar. So there's some freshness and something you can invest in here.
this feels like it would actually be a WrestleMania main event with a WrestleMania main event story compared to the last ones, which felt like they could be on paper but lacked the real build. So
Yeah.
at least that's how I see it.
No, I agree. And that brings us to the mixed tag match, which, all right, so everyone did what they were supposed to do. This match was exactly what you would expect to see from a match like this. Mixed tag matches are bullshit. Just let them tie it up. Who cares?
Dude,
yeah.
there's every time they do it, I don't understand because AEW was guilty of this to a degree. They did Baker and Cole versus Statlander and Orange Cassidy. And you have these moments in a tag match where you build to a hot tag. There is no hot tag in a mixed tag match.
Nope.
Because as soon as one person tags out, the other person doesn't need to tag anymore. Their partner's legal.
That was exactly what I was going to bring up. Is if ever you're in a mixed tag match and you see the other person crawling to their corner, just lay the fuck down.
Yeah, just let
fuck
them.
It. Yeah, go ahead.
Or if you want to stop them, go stop them. Don't try to tag.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. This match is stupid. At least I will say that with AEWs, and this isn't really a defense of it because I hate when they do it too. But at least with AEWs, we did get to see a little bit of like intergender scrapping here and there, which was, pretty welcome, even though it mostly went one way. But
you got it here, but it was only for like finishers.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as relevant because of that,
Oh, agreed.
Yeah.
My other point for this match is this match came on around 10:30-ish Eastern time, and there was still a Rumble after it, which is going to go an hour. So this was one of those, oh man, we're going to be in for a 4-hour show, aren't we? Okay, yeah, it's a 4-hour show. I don't see any reason why this match couldn't take place on Raw, at the next pay-per-view, at WrestleMania even.
Okay, hang on. I can tell you exactly why it can't take place at the next pay-per-view. Because if Maryse wore anything like she wore at the Royal Rumble at the Khashoggi Chamber, they would never make it home.
Very true. But there is another pay-per-view, right, between now and Mania.
Is there? I thought this was the last one.
There's almost always Fastlane.
Oh, right. I forgot about Fastlane.
And maybe there isn't this year. I'm sorry if I put that out into the world and they're like, oh, shit, we forgot about Fastlane. We have to do Fastlane. No, please don't.
That's it.
It's really not that good.
That's it, guys. When this podcast is released, they don't have Fastlane like announced or booked anywhere, and then it happens. This is what he does. He does this.
Is my power.
Joe made WrestleMania 2 nights. That was on him. He's the one who made WrestleMania a fucking weekend. You take that up with him, and if this happens, it's his fault.
And they didn't pay me a dime.
Nope. Send all the hate mail, all the angry tweets. Just remember, it wasn't my fault.
Yes, you can find me at the Lion Knight 42. Yeah. So I don't think that there's any reason, going back to where I started with this, that this match couldn't have taken place someplace else. You cut this match from the card, saving 15 minutes or so, whatever it was, with the entrances and everything. Maryse and Beth are in the Women's Rumble. Edge and Miz are in the Men's Rumble. I don't know why you couldn't have done that. Because I can very easily find 2 ladies to take out of the Women's Rumble and put them in, and 2 guys to take out of the Men's Rumble and put them in. Very easily.
I'm pretty sure we already did that for the Women's Rumble.
For the Women's, yes. For the Men's, we're about to.
Exciting. Okay, so do you want to just move on?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why not.
Yeah, let's do it.
I said this to you. I think this Rumble started very strong.
I agree.
And then it went so downhill.
Oh my goodness.
Right? So much to my earlier thing, we get AJ and Shinsuke as 1 and 2, which is awesome. That's an awesome number 1 and number 2. We can go back over the years. There was one where CM Punk and Daniel Bryan were 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. That's an awesome start to a Rumble because you can immediately look at both of those guys and be like, I want them to be there the entire match.
Yep.
Right?
Have everyone come out, get thrown over the top rope in like 10 seconds and let them go back to having a wrestling match.
Exactly. Wow. I want the Shawn Michaels British Bulldog, right? Mm-hmm. Let's go. Give me these 2 the entire time. And then number 3 is Austin Theory, who's another guy who's like a dark horse pick for a lot of people. Of you could see him not winning, but being in this match for a long time.
Sure.
So you've got 3 good wrestlers out there. Number 4, Bob Roode. Robert Roode.
Okay,
Bobby Roode.
so
Don't call him Bobby Roode.
the lower third was still Robert Roode, but Pat McAfee seemed to be pushing Bob Roode very hard, and so I don't know anymore. Oh, also,
either, because he was out in like 40 seconds or something.
That's fair. Also, props to Pat McAfee. So he was a guy who I really didn't like on commentary for a while, but every time I listen now, he's winning me over more, and he made this Rumble way more enjoyable just by being there. That was great.
I was so gassed when this match started, and once AJ and Shinsuke come out at number 1 and 2, and he's dancing on the table with that energy level, I'm sitting there like, all right, you got me back. I'm up. Let's go.
I popped for that. It was good.
Yeah. And contrary to where we were at this point in the Women's Rumble, I'm just going forward a little bit. Like number 5, Ridge Holland, who I don't think has like a massive fan base or anything, but you can see that they care about him. You know, he lasted a while. I think he helped eliminate almost. I think that's his one elimination, but like he was out there. He's a big dude. He's impressive looking. He's got a storyline going with Sheamus, all that stuff. Cool. So you've already got people to be invested in early, and that continues with number 6 is Montez Ford, who, man, I know you want to talk about the Street Profits. He's the breakout star waiting.
Yeah, absolutely. Montez Ford has the potential for an incredible singles career ahead of him. And that's not taking anything away from Dawkins. They're a great team. They work really well together. But Montez Ford has all the pieces. And I need to see this man as a heel, like yesterday.
I don't know about being a heel, but...
What?
I'm not
perfect.
saying it couldn't happen. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but with his moveset, he's going to pop the crowd every 3 seconds in a match.
That's fair.
He reminds me of, and I'm whiffing on his name right now from AEW, the guy who's the kid who's feuding with Team Taz.
Dante Martin. Airwolf.
He reminds me so much of Dante Martin, where the two of them just are so athletic and can do so many different things, but yet we're on a tag team.
But Montez Ford has so much more charisma, which is a big deal. He's definitely dripping with it.
Definitely. I agree. He is somebody that as soon as he breaks off from that team, he's going to be like a mid-card champion very soon after. I don't know what his ceiling is, but once he gets the following, it's there. He has the following for the Street Profits as a team right now, but once he gets it as a solo guy, awesome.
Yeah.
Number 8, Sami Zayn, which gets
you skipped Damian Priest.
Oh, well, they did too.
That's hurtful. I mean, you're right, but
it is. And here's another thing that Damian Priest reminded me of this point. I always want to bring this point up. As somebody that doesn't follow the product that often anymore, what the hell happened to everybody's music?
Oh, okay. So I got you on this. Because this was something else I was going to bring up that got made very apparent in the Men's Rumble. So the group that they were doing music with in the days when like Damian Priest was in NXT and the guys were coming up, they've cut ties with like they do every like 7 or 8 years. And so with new music staff coming in, everyone's theme has to change now. And unfortunately, holy fuck, like generic video game entrances everywhere.
I have no musical talent whatsoever. I cannot play any instruments. I know nothing. I am garbage when it comes to that. However, having watched professional wrestling since like the year 2000, I have grown so accustomed to hearing these amazing entrance tracks. And they're not all winners. Some of them are duds. Some of them are bad.
Some of them have been amazing.
But some are so damn good. And you can tell because some are still sticking around. Like Drew McIntyre still has his theme from years ago, which is instantly recognizable. Rhea Ripley, instantly recognizable. Obviously, the older theme songs like Shinsuke Nakamura, AJ Styles.
Well, they brought back Shinsuke's old theme.
Yes, thankfully. That's all that he needed to do for a babyface turn.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I was going to say, you say thankfully, but that song is a fucking banger.
The heel theme was awesome too.
Yeah. But yes, for being a face, they need the crowd to be able to do the thing with him. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But to make him a babyface, that's what they needed to do.
Yes.
But you go back and you have like these theme songs, like that have been around for 20 years now, and they're not changing because it'd be stupid to change them. Some people, it feels like you can tell they don't have stock in them because they changed their theme song, and it's to this generic sounding, as you said, generic like background music from like a video game.
Ricochet is I think the worst offender I could hear. He had such an amazing theme. And like it was bad enough when they took away all of the flair from his entrance with like the laser lights and stuff, but that theme was so good. And now if I closed my eyes and listened to it 100 times, I couldn't tell you it was Ricochet.
Yeah, and it wasn't just this Rumble, it was the other one as well. But there's one song that I know from the current roster that I think has improved, and it's Bobby Lashley's.
Oh, yeah.
I think his current theme is amazing. I think it's awesome and perfectly representative of who he is.
I would add Roman Reigns to that. I am actually a huge fan of Roman's like not Shield anymore theme, the one he's using now. I think it's another one of those that perfectly encapsulates the character, who he is, who he wants to be, the way it starts, and then the way it drops. All of it is like perfect.
That's fair. I like his as well. I don't like it as much as Bobby Lashley's, but I like his also. Yes, you're right.
I'm the exact inverse with the two of them. I love Lashley's too, but like Roman's for me is definitely above it.
That's cool. But going through this, there were so many points in time where I feel like the crowd was like this too, where you could see them count down from 10, the buzzer hits, and if they don't recognize it, they all turn and look and just stay silent.
Yep.
And then the nameplate will come up and they'll be like, oh, it's Ricochet. Oh, okay, I know who that is. Mm-hmm. Yay. But man, what happened? Damian Priest is a perfect example of this, where his entrance happened and I for a second did not know who was coming out.
Yeah. No, yeah, I had the exact same response. And it's funny because it also kind of highlights something that Tony Khan was talking about a couple months ago, where, he goes out of his way to try and get the licenses to a lot of this music because he really is a big believer in you need songs that will resonate with the crowd, that are representative of your talent, that people will be able to immediately connect to the talent that's coming.
And it works for them too, because they're not about having this video library where you're going back and watching things. So it's almost a pay per appearance thing for them, where it's like, okay, pay for it for the live show. Who cares if we have to edit it out of something later, years down the line, because we don't own the rights to it anymore, whatever, it doesn't matter. Whereas WWE is more about, we have to own everything because it's going to sit there forever.
Yep.
And that's the difference. But you could still make these damn songs sound better.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no way
distinguishable from one another.
Yeah, there's no way that you couldn't do better than a lot of these themes. Come on.
Yeah. You need to, whoever you're paying to do this, you need to hire somebody else who's like a DJ who can remix them.
Oh yeah, a lot of them would be fine with like just some polish. They don't need to be overhauled completely, but you got to do something. They feel like someone was like, all right, how many do we have to do? 150? All right, we can bang this out in like 3 afternoons. Let's go.
Yeah, budget cuts. But
yeah, well, the margin of profit is so thin.
Yeah, only a couple billion, right? But so we got to this from Damian Priest. Way off track from Damian Priest. Damian Priest, I think last year, if it wasn't last year, it was 2 years ago. Whenever he first came up, time is a flat circle. It's something where he came up, and obviously he's not going to win the Royal Rumble match, but he had a really impressive showing in the match, and he lasted a while. I think he eliminated some people, and before he got chucked out by somebody who was an actual contender. Awesome. That's how you make somebody look strong in one of these matches. He looks so weak in this match.
Yeah.
Eliminates nobody. He's not in there a long period of time. He has this odd storyline going on with him where he cuts a promo earlier about how, there's the Damien side of him, and you don't want that to come out because that's when he gets super violent and gets himself disqualified, which you can't do in a Royal Rumble. But it didn't matter because it didn't happen in the Royal Rumble.
No. And
Who cares?
yeah, it's really strange to me because I missed the last one because day one, nope. But the last time that I saw Damian Priest on like WWE programming, he seemed like someone they had a lot of stock in. He seemed like a guy they really wanted to push and get over. And then watching it tonight, it feels like they just gave up on him. Is he still the U.S. champion? I don't remember. Okay.
He is still the United States champion. He had a winning streak going through Survivor Series where he faced Shinsuke and got disqualified and lost. So he still had a streak going where he never got pinned or submitted, which I think has since ended on Raw.
Okay.
And I don't know to whom it ended. It doesn't really matter to me, but he has not dropped the U.S. title yet. I think he's another one where, like, if you're gonna have a mid-card title match, like much like I just said with AJ versus Shinsuke, I wouldn't mind seeing AJ Damian Priest for the U.S. title.
Oh yeah, that'd be dope. That'd be really good.
Be cool. Like, I think they could work a good match together. Give them like 15 minutes, something like that. Be pretty cool. But he needs to find that next step for his character, because just being an angry guy who goes out and gets himself disqualified every time, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And it's counterintuitive to winning in wrestling matches, because his entire winning streak, he wasn't like this. So now he just suddenly is a guy who doesn't know how to win anymore. Like, that's weird. All right, we went way off track here, but we're up to like the number 8, number 9 section, which is like Sami Zayn, Johnny Knoxville, which was just the.
You mean Andy Kaufman?
Ha.
It was a cool homage. I appreciated it.
It's fair. It's fair. I appreciate Johnny Knoxville, and he gave like a hell of a forearm to AJ.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So it was, that whole exchange is really funny because he stiffs the fuck out of him, and AJ seemed kind of amused by it. And then AJ hits him with the flurry, and Knoxville stands there not knowing what the fuck to do, going, and then he gets clotheslined and he's down. But he sells that first, like, shin kick, and then is just standing there doing nothing. Please don't hit me. Please don't hit me. Please don't hit me.
I think partially he was like, I'm Johnny Knoxville. Just let me take bumps. Right? Just like I'm going to hit you hard. Now you hit me. And AJ's like, I'm not going to punch you in the face, man. Like, whatever, go down. Okay, go down. And he takes a bunch of hits, and then Sami eliminates him. Okay, right, cool, get that out of the way. Then we get Dawkins comes out, who they mess up everything with him. Like, they still keep up the Montez Ford banner and everything, and then even Michael Cole calls him Angelo Hawkins.
Yeah, he does.
So he doesn't even know who. It's like he doesn't know who he is, which is just, it's bad. It's a bad look. I worry because I know Montez is destined for greatness. I really worry for Dawkins' future once that team splits up.
Dawkins is entertaining to watch. He will most certainly be relegated to the mid-card jobber position until such a time as they go through another round of budget cuts. Probably.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. And then number 11, and this is an important one. This is Omos. So Omos comes out, and he's the monster of the match for now. Cool. Eliminates the Street Profits. Cool. So then he gets ganged up on. And I know it's like later on, but he just gets ganged up on by everybody and gets eliminated. And it wasn't this big moment or anything. It was just, look, the Giant got ganged up on by everybody and eliminated. It wasn't the Great Khali getting slain by the Undertaker. It wasn't the Big Show getting dumped out by The Rock. It felt more like when a bunch of guys would gang up to like dump out like Viscera or something, who is, okay, there's no chance Viscera is winning the Royal Rumble. Look, everyone eliminate him. Yay. Okay, cool. And that was just such a whimper to me. It wasn't, that could have been this big moment for anybody who's still in the match. At this point, like, I know I skipped over like 2 or 3 people that are coming in next, which is Ricochet, Chad Gable, and Dominic Mysterio, so we could talk about them, but they were there to help eliminate Omos. But none of them looked any better for it. It just felt like, oh, all the small guys teamed up and eliminated the big guy. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was very unfortunate. Omos didn't look particularly great either, though, which is a problem. Having all these little guys eliminate him is fine, and I'm not saying it hurts him, but Omos has really, in my opinion, failed to capture the it factor that is necessary to be a giant in wrestling. You know, and even like Kali had it at one point where I'm not going to argue he was ever very like good, especially by the time he got to WWE and his knees had been all fucked up and whatever. But there was still something where you would look at him and be like, that guy's gonna fucking kill me. Omos doesn't come off that way. And he seems to, I don't really want to say clumsy, but I think that's what I have to go with. He just seems kind of clumsy in the ring and not like lumberingly so. Just it's hard to look at him and be like, oh, that's a giant.
Well, I believe he's a giant, but like the scary part to me
In the wrestling like sense,
no,
I mean.
I understand. Like because Kali, when he made his debut, they gave him that almost smoke and mirrors win over the Undertaker, where he destroys the Undertaker, who's like at the world championship level at the time, who's beating other people. And now you have Omos who beats AJ in like one match. He just squashes AJ, which is it's fine because it's AJ Styles. AJ Styles has been a world champion and everything, but AJ Styles is not this physically intimidating Undertaker level talent. He's somebody that I believe could beat the Undertaker in a match, but he's somebody who does not look as physically intimidating as the Undertaker.
Oh, and his record isn't the same because if you look at it, the Undertaker is just beyond his physical intimidation. That's the guy to beat because they've built him that way his entire career. AJ Styles is just another main event guy. He might be one of the best wrestlers in the world, but he is by no means unstoppable or unbeatable.
Yeah, and when you have the Undertaker standing there with Kali, it's like, okay, he has to look up at Kali, but it's not like looking 2 feet up at Kali. It's looking a few inches up of the Undertaker is a giant, and he has to look up to this person because he's that big. AJ is not the biggest guy. AJ is not the tallest guy. AJ is just okay. He has to look up at Omos the same way he always has, the same way everybody else does because he's so freaking big. But it's not. It's comical for anybody, not just AJ. So it's not like he squashed somebody that was a real physical threat to him at his own level. And he's never had that because WWE doesn't have that right now. They don't have these people as babyface giants running around. They're all budget cutted.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, well, we had a bunch of giants, but then they decided they only needed the one.
Exactly. So that happened. I don't know if you want to look into anybody like you mentioned Ricochet already. Ricochet is unfortunately a flashy jobber right now.
Yeah. I mean, Chad Gable, tag team champion, good for him.
Yes, and he had the cool moment of coming in and playing ringleader of I'm smarter than all of you, so this is how we'll beat the giant, which ended up getting Damian Priest eliminated, which makes Damian Priest look like an idiot. Okay.
Yeah.
But it eventually works. And Dominic Mysterio, okay, fine. He had a moderately good showing of just being in there and then gets eliminated. Okay, cool. The same with Chad Gable, the same with Ricochet. They're in there, they get eliminated. Okay, cool. This is where it starts getting weird because then we have Happy Corbin. And Happy Corbin in a match where I think AJ and the winner have the most eliminations is like right behind them. I think he has 3. Which is crazy because this is Baron Corbin. This is a guy who's been around forever. And just, where is this going?
Yeah, he's tied with Omos.
Right?
Yeah.
Where is this going?
Honestly, I can tell you where it's going. I know where it's going. It's going wherever the fuck they decide they want it to go next week. I am without even just like ragging on them. I am convinced that Baron Corbin continues to be a major player for them in the like upper mid card division strictly because they go, man, these people fucking hate him. Oh, we're set. They'll never stop booing him. So we're just gonna keep fucking pushing him. What are we gonna do with him? I don't fucking know. Roll the dice on the day of. Who cares? But get him on TV, because they'll fucking hate him. That's my theory on how Corbin has gotten to the spot where he is.
Which is fair, and I'll give him credit. Like, his thing now with the Madcap Moss is more creative than the King Corbin thing or the Baron Corbin doing nothing thing.
Oh yeah.
I'll give him points for that, but I still don't see it as, oh, he's going to come in and the two of them are going to run through people in the Royal Rumble. Like, that's not his level. This feels like a comedy act, a comedy heel act, but
Yeah.
like still a comedy act. So he's in, he doesn't immediately start eliminating people, but then we get Dolph Ziggler, who's just your annual, I'm in the Rumble to be in the Rumble. Okay, cool.
Who is also a victim of bad music now, because they took his music and Rude's music and then made something that keeps the concept from both but is terrible.
Oh, Bobby Roode. Well, I'm sorry. Robert Roode.
Bob Roode.
Bob Roode. Roode is the biggest victim of this because he's the guy. He's the guy before Chris Jericho. Before no, not before Shinsuke, but definitely before Chris Jericho. He was the guy with lyrics in his music that everybody would sing along to every single time he came to the ring.
Single time.
Amazing. And they killed that.
Yep.
That's terrible.
It is terrible.
Beyond terrible.
Yeah, and it's crazy when you consider that, like, there was so much in, like, investment, not just from the company, but even from talent at the time. When you think back to the Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, like, video things where they'd be, like, playing his music and he'd just be in the background and they're just standing him and they're hoping really, really hard that he'll acknowledge it, and he'll just be like, and go back to whatever he was doing, and it's great. Just gone.
Yeah. Which, yes, as you said, the same applies to Dolph Ziggler. I'm a fan of giving them tag team music because it makes them feel like an actual tag team. If that's what they're going to be doing, I support that move. But you took away two guys with instantly identifiable and over music, and then you got rid of it. That seems like such a waste. 17 is Sheamus, which is also when Ridge Holland got eliminated, and you're playing up that whole thing of, oh no, mentor, I let you down. And okay, cool. It's fine.
Ridge Holland is from where? I forget.
In the world? Like what country?
Yeah, like what country?
No clue.
Okay.
I want to say the UK, but I'm not 100% on that.
That makes sense. I just know he's not American because he played rugby.
Yes.
That's the only thing I know.
What that is here. He is an English professional wrestler and former professional rugby league player. So he English.
Okay. Because I was gonna be like, I don't know what he would use instead of senpai, but that's what senpai no.
Exactly. So Sheamus goes in and he's just a body. He's got cred. It's fine. Like, he's somebody that you can take seriously. I'll take him more seriously than Dolph Ziggler.
Sure.
But,
I mean, he's in there for 17 minutes and doesn't get an elimination, though.
Yeah, but I think that's where he is right now. I think that's his thing. Like, it's the same for Ziggler. Like, Ziggler, I don't think eliminated anybody, and he was in there a while.
Yeah, but I don't... Okay, so Sheamus is probably in that spot now, too, and that's true. That's fair. But when I look at, like, guys like Sheamus and Dolph Ziggler, I don't look at them in the same place, right? Where Ziggler, right? His gimmick is always kind of an undercurrent of, oh, hey, here I am, not getting pushed again. And Sheamus is supposed to be this, like, badass, right? What did they... The whole, like, projector thing that they put up when he was coming out, I forget what it was. It was something to do with, like, fighting. Like, it's a whole thing for him. He's supposed to be a bruiser, and he just exists for a while and does almost nothing.
He's got, like, his own, like, fight club thing going on, which is cool. I appreciate it. Sheamus is somebody that it hasn't always been an undercurrent, but he's evolved and changed over time, which is pretty cool. sometimes it's jarring. Like the one time he came back with the mohawk and the braided beard and everything, it was a little like, oh, dude, what are you doing? But this one I think is pretty cool. It's a subtle thing. He can bring in Rich Holland with him, and maybe they turn it into something. At least I hope so.
Yeah, as long as we never go back to the OG candlestick look.
Oh no, let's not do that. That was weird. Very weird. So off of that, we get Rick Boogs, who kind of has an impressive showing. This is his coming out party for Royal Rumble, and he's a big, powerful guy, muscles people around, military pressing people, throwing them over the top. Fine. Not much else to say, I don't think.
No, I mean, getting the elimination on Chad Gable is cool. He gets one over on a tag team champion, which is a nice look. He had his moments where he looked like he could be more than just the ridiculous guy that he's been. And I think that goes back to what you said before about maybe he plays the heel in the Nakamura story eventually, wherever that ends up. But that's really all I think there is to say about that. And then we get to buff Markiplier.
Oh, yeah. And this is where it starts going downhill, right? Because you get Madcap Moss and Baron Corbin start eliminating some people. And notably, they toss AJ, who is the only guy who had been in there from that first 10 of the match. He's the only guy, I think, who was left from before 15. So that's a notable thing, which means nobody is going the distance in this match. Nobody's going close to going the distance in this match. At least in the women's Rumble, even after a good chunk of people got eliminated, Liv and Bianca were still, from the first 10, going close to the end, if not all the way to the end. So that's notable. And this is another strange one where I said to you before this, where there are multiple reasons why I think people soured on this show. And this is one of them, because you kept taking away things people wanted to see. There were just so many moments in these Rumbles where there's nothing going on. You have a ring where after AJ gets eliminated, like running down the list, who's in there? Who do they want to see? Like all the baby faces are gone, or all the big name baby faces are gone. There's nobody left in there. So you get to number 20, which is Riddle, which is awesome. And Riddle is very over, and his act as RK Bro with Orton is one of the best things to see that WWE is putting on TV right now. Legitimate guy, awesome, big fan of what Riddle can do, but he's not going to carry the Royal Rumble as a babyface, because nobody's going to look at Riddle and say, oh yeah, like he's going to win. So we're supposed to root for Riddle, because there's enough smart people in that audience who are going to look at this and say, okay, that I'm just going to sit on my hands now because I'm a fan of Riddle, but like he ain't winning this match.
Yeah, there's really no rhyme or reason for that. The only thing I can bring up is, and I was gonna talk about this at the end, but this is actually a really good place to discuss it, because this is, I think, where it became most apparent that this is what happened. There's been reports since that there were like 20-something rewrites to the Royal Rumble on the day of. So like you're talking 2-3 hours before showtime, where they're like rewriting everything over and over and over and over. So you've got these gaps that are just A, situations that these guys haven't had time to prep together for. B, situations that shouldn't have come up, but because we had to rewrite it over and over and over again, fatigue happens, and you just lost the leads there and didn't know where people were supposed to go, were supposed to do. It was really bad, and I think that this is the exact moment where you can see that that's what happened and the impact of it. You have guys in the ring, you have, like you said, no one to really root for anymore. And the guys who are left in the ring are kind of aimless at this point. There's very little action happening that's worth, like, having the camera on. There's very little that I, as a person watching, am invested in. I don't care. And once I stop caring, it's really hard to bring that back. You have to do something huge. And Riddle, fun as he is, isn't going to be that guy. But Then we get to 21.
Yeah. So 21 is the first time where it turns around, where Drew comes out. And he's somebody that a lot of people didn't think was going to be in the Rumble. You didn't know if he was going to make it back in time because he was legitimately out, storyline out, and by Corbin and Moss, who he eliminates near immediately. So, okay, fine. That's the payoff for, you hate these guys for eliminating AJ. Bam, there they go. Okay, fine. Drew's the only guy in the ring now who looks like a legitimate person who could win the match. Okay, but he's a fan favorite. So we can carry through with that for a bit. Fine. Then we get Kevin Owens. Okay, another guy who we're starting to ramp up again. Starting to get people in there who are actually legitimate contenders. Maybe you give them a small percentage chance. Bet. Rey Mysterio at 23. Fine, he's not going to win, but he's Rey Mysterio. Okay, he's earned this spot. He gets it, no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate he didn't get to share the ring with his son at all.
Very true, and I was surprised about that.
Same.
Especially considering they keep teasing they're going to split up.
Mm-hmm.
I would have figured a lock for something's going to happen, a miscommunication. Maybe they both get eliminated. One eliminates the other. Mm-hmm. One doesn't help the other. Something like that.
Something.
But if you're saying they rewrote this so many times, those numbers could have been shuffled a ton. So 24 is Kofi Kingston. Man, this is where it feels almost ominous where we're going. Because Kofi comes in and almost immediately we get to have the Kofi Kingston spot of how is he going to save himself. Kevin Owens launches him off the apron.
No, off the top of the turnbuckle.
Off the top of the turnbuckle. So really high up. Yep. And Kofi's supposed to land probably like sternum, rib first.
Into the barricade.
Over the barricade. So he'd be like almost completely bisected by it. And he would then do something to jump back to the ring, saving himself and not being eliminated. Unfortunately, the angle just wasn't right. He comes crashing down almost at armpit level, so there's no place for his legs to go, and both feet hit the floor. So the camera picks this up perfectly because it's supposed to, because if he made the save and didn't hit the floor, they'd want to show you that. But unfortunately, everybody saw both feet hit the floor. The referee is right there, saw both feet hit the floor. Kofi Kingston's eliminated.
Yeah, and it was heartbreaking. He looked so heartbroken. I feel so bad. But also, I gotta say one thing about this. This was a dumb fucking idea. Look, it's true. I love Kofi. I love Kofi spots. I love everything he does. He's so much fun and he's so entertaining and he does cool shit. I don't understand how not a single fucking person at any point was like, hey, maybe jumping literally as high as you can get off the top turnbuckle down to the barricade that you're then supposed to catch with your ribs is a good idea. Because even if this goes right, you could get fucking hurt. And if it goes wrong, you're either getting hurt real bad or you're going to be out of this match. It was a bad spot. And it boggled. That's why, and I brought this up to you, where I was like, was this a bodge? Or is this just the way that they're keeping Kofi out of the Rumble so people don't, like, get behind him? And, like, it's crazy to me that they let this spot happen because there's such a high chance of it going wrong. This was their maybe their first time with these Kofi spots. The second time, there was a ladder one a couple years ago that went off well, but might not have. But this was a huge risk, and it wasn't worth it at all. And like, sure, the downside is low from the company's standpoint, because if he gets eliminated, he gets eliminated. If he fucks up, he fucks up. Whatever, he's not winning anyway. But like, goddamn, this was a bad decision, and it didn't pay off. And I feel so bad for him, but also, no, what the fuck?
I will say that it's amazing that this is the first one that went wrong.
Yes.
Because he's done this, close to 10 times now, and every single one has gone off seemingly without a hitch. This is the one where it botches, he gets it wrong, he times it or places it or whatever, or doesn't get the right angle. Okay. I agree with you. Like, it's dangerous. This is the first one in a while that seemed like really like, oh man, if you mess this up, you could get badly hurt. And that's something that I think speaks to the one-upsmanship that they keep doing with this of, oh, you did this amazing one, now you gotta do it again. You've kind of been pigeonholed into this role. Like, you're not a Rumble winner, you're the guy that does the cool thing. Poke poke, what's the next cool thing?
It's something that it's a term you and I know very well called power creep.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You just got to keep scaling upwards. If
Exactly.
you're not outdoing, you're failing.
Yeah, there was one year that his save was he got caught by, I don't know if you remember the Rosebuds with Adam Rose.
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely.
So he would come out with like the party posse.
Yeah, I remember that.
And one of his saves.
Don't be a lemon, be a rosebud.
Okay, you remember this better than I do. Then.
Oh, so well. I loved it. It was stupid and it was so much fun.
So one of his saves was he literally just like crowd surfed on the Rosebuds and got caught and put back in the ring, which I remember at the time people were like, oh, that was kind of lame compared to like landing on the announce table and like springboarding back to the ring or something like that. Which, yeah, okay, fine. It was basically a glorified somebody caught you and put you back in the ring, which has been done by other people.
Sure. I dug that one though, just so it's out there. I thought that was a lot of
fair. Fun. And I'm not saying I didn't, because again, the power creep of it, you have to come up with something different every year. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. That's so hard to do. And he's kind of been stuck in this situation now, which leads to moments like this of, will this work? I don't know. Let's try it. And I can't imagine he had to practice that 75 times where he'd land on his ribs and just be like, well, I did it 75 times in a row, so I guess I'll do it live. And then he does it live and it doesn't go right. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe it isn't. If it is, oh my God, are you okay? Like, how are you taking this bump perfectly fine every single time?
Yeah.
Because it looks like it would hurt.
My concern is that in true WWE fashion, it's going to happen again next year. This exact same spot, because they're going to want him to be able to hit it, right? Like, that's the moment, right? Where it's like, bam, and he does it, and he sticks it. And it's like, yeah. And it's like, but if he doesn't, if he fucks this up again, and that's maybe a harsh way to put it, but if it goes wrong again, he's dead in the water. Like, it's a done deal at that point.
Yeah, because everybody's going to be watching, waiting for the next one, right? Which they were for this one, too.
Sure.
But
now the stakes are way higher.
Yeah, because now it's going to be, oh, man, can you actually do it? Even if it's not exactly this. Even if it's something else.
It's got to be similar, though.
Yeah, it's going to be something similar.
Mm-hmm.
And either that or the almost worse thing of oh, you're no good to us anymore because you can't do the one thing that we really wanted you to do. So you're just cut from everything now. Like, we're not even going to put you in the Rumble next year because, like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And that sucks. I wouldn't want to see that either.
No,
I'd rather
definitely.
just actually go back to just being a competitor who is an actual competitor versus the guy who does the Rumble spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that happens, unfortunately, and kind of puts a bit of a dour mood on what's going on because the entire crowd has picked it up, and it's like, unfortunate, Kofi's eliminated. So we get 25, and 25 is Otis, which, cool. I know you're a fan of Otis. I'm a fan of Otis. Yeah. I'm a fan of this tag team with him and Gable. Yeah, I like that combo. I like both of them. I'm really high on Chad Gable. I want Chad Gable to succeed, but Otis is cool too and has been doing good things. And they gave him the clean win on Randy Orton to win the tag titles,
which is wild.
Yeah, so they clearly see something in him, but he's not exactly like setting the world on fire or setting the WrestleMania sign on fire in this match.
Well, because Becky already did.
Exactly. Burn the house down.
Too many fires and they'll get shut down. It's not worth it.
So this is the moment. We hit 26, and I've said this before. 26 is the number where you have it's the latest number that has never won. Okay. It was Lita in the first match. She didn't win. Now we get Big E.
Yeah.
Who is your pick?
Yeah.
And not a great showing.
No.
Definitely not. Kind of, in a word that has been thrown around a lot, unceremoniously tossed out.
Yep. He had what, 6 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't eliminate anybody and gets chucked. Now, granted, he probably would have been in there with Kofi. Maybe there was a plan for the two of them doing something together, and it just couldn't happen because Kofi's gone. So they said, screw it, just throw me out. Like there's nothing to do. I don't know. I can't imagine he was exactly feeling pumped after seeing what happened with Kofi. That's got to take the wind out of your sails a little bit. So not a good night for Big E. Although I do agree with you, and I hope that with Bobby Lashley as the new WWE champion, you'd have to think that Big E is at least one of the top 3 people to maybe have a shot at him soon.
If he goes back to Raw.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I hope it's not just, look, it's Big E and Kofi and they're going after the Usos for the tag titles again. Because as much as I love New Day and Usos, like, the reason why we've had so many of those matches is because you refuse to build anybody else.
Yep.
Come on.
I will say the one thing that I found interesting was that Big E still came out to his music instead of the New Day music, which has me a little hopeful.
Yeah, I could hope so. Now, I almost want to skip 27 and 28 and just talk about 29 because it's the last person that I want to talk about in a very specific way.
Okay.
And then I'll go back.
Okay, as long as we can go back, because I have some things. Okay, because I have some things to say. I don't mind if
I have things to say too.
I don't mind if you jump a little bit as long as we come back.
We're gonna jump to number 29 because 29 is the last person that I would consider a regular entrant in the Royal Rumble match, and that's Randy Orton. And this is his hometown show, so he gets a massive pop. And if you were going just off of crowd reaction, Randy Orton should have won this Royal Rumble. I understand hometown pop, I get it, but I think Randy Orton still gets a very solid pop at number 29 coming into just about any Royal Rumble these days.
Oh, especially with what he's been doing with Riddle.
Yes, and man, they looked so good in the ring together, throwing people around, jumping RKOs, just good stuff. Absolutely good stuff. I almost want to call this like a career resurgence for Randy Orton, even though he never really went anywhere, and before this was a WWE champion.
Okay, so I still think it's a perfectly fair statement to make because he was, sure, WWE champion, but he was the least interesting part of that storyline and is notably, just over the last few years, that guy who doesn't move the needle, right? He's always safe, he's always smart, you can put him with anyone, and the other guy might work to get stuff over, but for the most part, Orton has been kind of a neutral place. And so it's understandable to call this spot here where he exists with Riddle now as like a career resurgence, because it is. People are excited to see Randy Orton again, and it's been a while since that's been true.
It's new and it's different. Having him in a tag team where, okay, Orton's always going to be the straight guy.
Sure.
But he feels so... If he feels like he's embracing this role in a way he hasn't embraced a new role in a long time.
Yeah, it's kind of... So the dynamic between them reminds me a lot of the Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens dynamic.
Yes, definitely. And it's great. It's great to see that. So I just wanted to skip to that because we're going to have a lot of very interesting things to say about 27, 28, and 30, and not as much else to say about Randy Orton, I don't think, past this point. So let's go back to 27. 27 is an interesting one.
Okay.
And I don't hate this one.
So, yeah, I was going to say, before we say anything else about it, I want to put it out there that crotchety, grumpy fuck that I've been, I was actually pretty happy to see this one.
This was fun. So we got Bad Bunny in his second wrestling match ever.
Yeah.
Who had a hell of a performance last year at WrestleMania. Like, this dude can go.
Yeah, yup.
He puts in the work. He puts in the effort. He doesn't care. He'll take bumps. He will fly around. He will sell. He's good.
Yeah.
He's doing good. He's a fan who
He commits.
Yeah, he is taking it seriously. And that's what you want to see, because we've seen so many celebrities over the years come in and they just want to do one spot and then get the hell out of there. Get a paycheck, promote whatever they're promoting, and they don't want to be there otherwise. No, he wants to be there. He's having a good time, and you can tell.
Yeah. It's really hard to watch him and not just feel good about it.
Exactly. And he got to team up with Rey Mysterio for a minute. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, I have to imagine he's a big Rey Mysterio fan, and it influences a whole bunch of the moves that he's doing. He whips out a Canadian destroyer, a destroyer, not so Canadian destroyer. That was some awesome stuff. And another big part about it for this is he didn't come in and automatically take away from the match.
Yeah.
He felt like he was a part of the match, not celebrity involvement. And
because everything I'm so sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Because everything didn't stop, right? Like, that's the thing that happens. You saw it with like Knoxville earlier, where the celebrity comes in and everything stops and has to revolve around them. He ran out, he got in the ring, he got his shots in, he took a couple bumps, and everything kept moving.
Yeah, he became another body, which is exactly what's supposed to happen. And then we get to 28. Oh, man. This is where I looked at the time and I looked at what number it was. And after everything with Kofi and considering what was coming, like, I was fairly confident I knew what was coming.
Okay, so
once Big E got tossed, I looked and I said, there's only Drew left.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only person in this ring who can win this match, because Kevin Owens also got tossed. So looking in, I'm like, they're either pulling something out of left field or number 30 is winning.
Wait, number 30? I thought you were talking about number 28.
Oh, no.
Best in the world.
I'm getting back to 28.
Oh, okay.
Because when the music hits for 28, it's what's left. Because I know Randy Orton's still coming, right? So Orton becomes 29. So Orton is either 29 or 30, right?
Sure.
Because you got Riddle right there. He's a reminder. Unless something happened, they pulled Randy Orton from this match. Randy Orton's in this match. And if they pull Randy Orton from the match in his hometown, oh man, that's not a good idea.
No.
So 28 is Shane McMahon.
The best in the world.
Oh my God.
Okay. So I'm just going to put this out there, and then you can say whatever you'd like, but I'm not going to comment because I can't, or I will just be going for the next 30 minutes. So, Shane McMahon eliminates Kevin Owens. If we get another, God fucking damn, Kevin Owens, Shane motherfucking McMahon package, story, anything, I am not going to watch this product for a good 5 years. I can't fucking handle another 10-month Shane McMahon, Kevin Owens storyline in my life. I can't do it, Joe. I can't fucking do it. I can't do it. I can't fucking do it. Nope. No. Fuck no. Nope.
So I sincerely hope we don't get that either. I think this is one of the big reasons why people are so pissed, because you get to a point in this match where it feels like you're grasping at straws to find somebody to put in the match because you've budget cutted so many people out of the company. And much like what I said before, of you could have had the mixed tag match on another show, and then just or hell, even if you didn't, you could have put Miz and Edge in this match. This could be a spot where Edge comes out and you look and you say, okay, he's a guy who could potentially win this match.
Or you could bring up any of the babies from NXT that you want to get some exposure.
Oh yeah,
the generic player character guy, Von Wagner. You could bring up fucking not a Nazi anymore. You could bring up Fucking just do Tommaso Ciampa. He has nothing to lose.
Ciampa, Roderick Strong.
Roderick Strong.
Breaker,
Put these guys in and have them. Well, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm purposely not mentioning Braun Breaker because of number 30, right?
Oh,
and the way that things happen when number 30 comes out, right?
Yes.
But like literally anyone else will not suffer from this. Just do it and be done with it.
There is no reason
at all
why you would put Shane McMahon in this match.
Nope.
Over anybody else.
Anyone.
Yeah. It's even Seth Rollins, which I understand Seth Rollins got destroyed earlier, but it's been like 3.5 hours. You could put Seth Rollins back out there.
Yep, have him hobble his ass out and get wrecked. I don't care. Cesaro.
Yeah, Cesaro not in the match.
Guy who wasn't there.
Yeah, there are plenty of people who were not in the match. And again, nobody from NXT in either Rumble.
Don't forget, you also had your King of the Ring, who you could have put in this spot.
Yeah, I have to believe Woods wasn't ready. I have to believe that that's the case, even though I think he did just come back on SmackDown. But regardless of that, like I'll point out the funny thing of last week we made our picks, and then 3 out of 4 of our picks weren't even in the matches, which is fine. But again, we didn't know that Ronda was coming back. Otherwise, we both probably would have picked Ronda.
Yep.
And you don't know that the person who's on TV every week in Alexa Bliss is not going to be in the match, because why wouldn't she? Especially when, again, you've got 13 people from outside the company in the match. So fine. So again, 29 was Orton. I'm just going to skip over Shane for now even more, because it's all going to be negative. It's all that. He comes in with his Shane McMahon punches, the worst worked punches in the business. There's not much else to say. So then we get the countdown of 10, right? And it's for number 30. And there's nobody left. There's the only person in the ring who could win the match is Drew McIntyre.
Okay, but we do. Right? Like, we can, look, with all due respect, we can build suspense and we can make this dramatic.
Yeah.
But like 2 hours ago, I think at this point, an hour ago,
easily,
we knew.
Oh no, 100%, because there's no reason why you wouldn't have the title match right before the Rumble. Mm-hmm. There's no reason why you have every single person who would be in this spot already in the ring. Or eliminated, or they're not coming. So number 30 is Brock Lesnar. And I wrote his name down in the 30 spot before he came out.
And of course, why wouldn't it be Brock Lesnar? It's not like they have a story ongoing that they could use to put him into a main event spot with Roman Reigns. There's no reason he would otherwise be going after Roman Reigns or have any reason to do that. And it's not like they've had other people jump from show to show before or explained that Brock Lesnar's Brock Lesnar and has carte fucking blanche to go and do what he wants. Because we have none of those things, clearly he has to win the Royal Rumble, Joe.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say to that. Although my favorite part of this was Riddle's face as soon as Lesnar's music hits and comes out, where Riddle finally has that moment of, oh my God, they said it wasn't going to happen, but it happened. I get to be in the ring with Brock Lesnar. Yes. And then he probably gets eliminated. But
see, that was the sleeper pick, though. We fucked up because we should have been banking on Riddle to win so he could have challenged Brock.
That's true. Although I think part of me knows that match is just not coming.
Oh, so there's no way it's ever going to happen. As far as we know, Brock wants nothing to do with him. He doesn't give a fuck about him. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. He wanted enough to eliminate him, but that's pretty much it. And so, yeah, Brock Lesnar goes on to win the match. Although, it pains me to say it, your final 3 was Brock Lesnar, Drew McIntyre, and Shane McMahon.
Well, because he's the... You know what? Nope. I said I was done. I'm not going to keep going. I'm not.
Nah. Okay, so Shane gets eliminated, thankfully. Oh my God, imagine if he was the final 2. Yeah, I think people would hate it even more. But you get to the final two, and it's Drew and Brock, which is fine. That's a good final two considering everything. Where they have history, they
Yeah.
have Rumble
They've-
history, they
yeah.
have main event at WrestleMania history. Like, this is good. This is a good final two. There really wasn't much to it though. Like, there was no like little match having back and forth. This was just punch, move, Brock throws you out. Okay, that Brock wins. Yay, let's go home. And this is another reason why I throw out the whole like, man, I wish the mixed tag were cut for time, because then you could have had a little bit more between Ronda and Charlotte and a little bit more between Brock and Drew to at least build some type of suspense here, where maybe Drew is going to win. Maybe Drew versus Roman is where they go. Maybe Drew versus Bobby Lashley is where they go, right? Like, he's a guy who could jump and that would make sense. But no, that's not what happened. And you get the winner, and it didn't feel satisfying. Didn't feel like it. I also do want to point out, because I noticed this last year, Edge won from number 1 and Bianca won from number 3, I think. So you had two really early people, but also the first person and the third person from the front. And then this year you had in the men's number 30 wins, and then number 28 for the ladies wins. So you have the last person and then the third from the end.
Yeah.
So whoever is looking at these numbers is just like, yeah, we'll do it this way. It's fine. But also number 30 is now on that list of having the same number as number 1.
Yep.
So we got a number 1 last year. We got a number 30 this year. So
well, we got to keep it even.
Yeah, whenever you get one, they're going to give you the other, because they don't want to re-record that soundbite of number 30 is the same number as number 1. Yeah, because by the numbers, they do it every year.
Did they do it this year? I don't even remember them doing it this year.
They definitely did, but I tune out for it so many times now.
Yeah.
Oh, I know they did, because they replayed the whole Titus O'Neil slip.
Oh, right. Okay, you're right. Because of course they did.
Because they have to.
Yeah. I think that's a legal thing now. They legally have to play it at every Rumble.
They have to show you Santino getting eliminated in 1 second. Mm-hmm. And then they have to show you Titus not even making it to the ring.
Yeah. So yeah, that was the Royal Rumble, and it's crazy how bland and boring it was from start to finish, really. There were cool moments, but again, most of them are marred by unfortunate conclusions, overly expected endings, or the continuations of stories that people don't want.
And what we talked about last week was how some of the best Royal Rumbles have like that 3-act structure, and both of them didn't.
Yep, completely devoid.
They had moments in them where one person carried a bit of a story, but besides that, nothing. There was no big overarching thing. There was no, oh, we're going to build with this guy or something. Like, there was no quest for AJ Styles. They weren't hyping it up of AJ's still in there, he's number 1. It was just, okay, he's AJ Styles, and then he gets thrown out, and okay, number 1's gone. All right, on to the next one, guys. Because once a certain number of people got eliminated, like, I think once Drew came in or something like that, like, either when Dolph Ziggler went out or Sheamus or somebody in the or Moss and Corbin, all of those guys went out, and every single person before Riddle, who was number 20, was eliminated. So nobody from the first 2/3 of the match made it to the final group. So you're essentially saying that they didn't matter.
Yeah.
They had no shot.
It's the same problem I had with the ladder match with Sammy and Cody is you have to have a plot. You have to have something going on so that people care. And the Royal Rumble is another one of those things where you have to have plot. And you can't just have one plot. You have to have a bunch of stories that are interwoven through this. And there were a couple here or there, but most of the time, it was just, like we talked about some of the earliest Rumbles, it was a bunch of people in the ring getting their shit in, and that was it. And that's not interesting. It's not fun. It's not engaging. It's really unfortunate. But this was a misfire.
Definitely. Which is a shame because, as I said last week, I'm excited for the Rumble. I'm excited for it every year. I'll be excited for the one next year.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's the Royal Rumble. These matches always have so much potential to be incredibly entertaining. Sometimes the most entertaining of any match for the entire year. Just because you don't know what's coming next. You don't know what's going to happen. These, once you hit a certain point, felt like foregone conclusions. And it wasn't even because I'll walk that back a little bit just because there are other Royal Rumbles that have been foregone conclusions going into them of it's definitely this person, they're going to win. It's just a matter of time. But they still entertain you until you get to that point. There's still moments and little story threads of, okay, this person didn't win, but man, did they look good.
Yeah,
I wonder what they're going to do next.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the first Brock Lesnar Royal Rumble win, and that's a good example of that, where it's like, okay, so we all kind of know exactly where this is going well before the match begins, but there's content in the match. There are other things that were relevant and that mattered and that made it interesting while we waited for the inevitable Brock Lesnar wins.
Batista was one of the final guys in that match, and that was 2003, a good 2 years before he became the Animal Batista, who was a big name that everybody knew. Yeah. This was before he was in Evolution, I believe. I think that was later on in that year. So it was a good showing for him. And that's something that you get in certain Rumbles. I don't know who going up and down this list I'd look and say, oh, they had a really good showing. Because, like, okay, AJ Styles had a good showing, but it's AJ Styles. He didn't need to have a good showing in a Royal Rumble for me to look and say he's AJ Styles, right? Like Damian Priest, I talked about last year, saying, okay, Damian Priest had a good showing. Yay. I think they have faith in him. I want to see what he's going to do next. Damian Priest just looked like a guy in this Rumble. He was just a person out there, and I almost skipped over him and wouldn't have missed him to go back.
Yeah, and it's the Rumble is just to, you know, build off what you said. It's kind of the debutante's ball in a lot of ways, right? It's where they present you with the guy. Here are the guys you should pay attention to for the next 12 months. Here are the guys that are going to matter moving forward. And like you said, they didn't really build anyone this year. No one really got over from this.
Not even a little.
If we keep going, we're probably going to just start getting cyclical, and it's not worth it at that point. So I think what we're going to do is closing thoughts, and then we'll probably wrap up this episode.
This is one of those weird Rumbles where I would say watch like the title matches over the Rumbles because I think they were better. Look at it on paper. It's fine. If you have nothing else to watch, cool. You could throw them on and you might be like, oh, hey, I remember that moment when so-and-so came out. Okay, fine. But there are better Rumbles. There are better recent Rumbles. There are better old Rumbles. I don't think this is the worst by any means, but it's by no means the best.
I respect that. I don't watch this Rumble. If you haven't yet, don't. Even with the quality of work you saw with like Roman and Seth, even with some of the stuff that we enjoyed and talked positively about with Lashley and Lesnar and in the midst of the Women's Rumble and stuff like that, I just don't think it's worth your time. You said it yourself. There are better Rumbles. There are better non-Rumble Rumble matches. There are so many other pieces of content right now that you could go out and watch. I just flat out would not suggest this Rumble to anyone. You'll get all the information you need for ongoing stories next week because it's the format they use and kind of just how wrestling works. But oof, just a big miss on something that shouldn't have been missed. And my expectations were low and they still managed to somehow just blow them out of the water.
So I'm going to ask you a question really quickly because I think we could do this. Keep going for it. I'll forget eventually, and that's when it'll die, but it's fine.
Uh-oh.
This is their second pay-per-view of the year.
Yeah.
Day one was better than this.
Yes, yeah.
Not by leaps and bounds.
Not by a lot, but yeah, it was better.
The day one was better.
Yes.
So day one is their number one right now. The Royal Rumble, unfortunately, is their number two right now.
Are we gonna do this? I'm cool doing this.
I'm gonna try to remember every single time.
Okay, let's do it. So the next one up is the Khashoggi Chamber, and we'll have to see what happens then.
The shit show in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, blood money brawl in the cage.
Yep. Oh man.
I'm gonna have to work for next week to find out a good way to rhyme cage with something that is a stand-in for propaganda. It's gonna be tough, but I'll see what I can do.
I'm racking my brain and I got nothing. I'm too tired right now.
Tough, yeah. All right.
I'm too tired. That was a 4-hour show. It wore me out. I'm burned out from wrestling right now.
Yeah, yep. I would already be asleep because it drained me of my will to continue on.
Oh my god, I just thought of this. If Ronda's gonna face Charlotte, who the hell is facing Becky?
That's a fantastic fucking question.
I guess it's just Bianca again, but fine. Like that feels like such a move.
I'm fine with that. I kind of half expected it, and like I don't think it's a bad thing. Bianca potentially getting her like retribution, or even if she loses, getting the ability to like have a match instead of just
that's fair.
Shit.
It feels like such a you could have Ronda versus Becky or something else.
Yeah. What you wanted? It's the I want the best possible WWE Raw Women's title match. And then your mom's like, we have the best possible Raw Women's title match at home.
Oh man. Oh man.
All right. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Sit Down. Thank you for joining me, Joe. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Hopefully next week we'll have more positive things to say about many, many things. Until then, take care